Hello everyone, my name is Aaron, and today I'm going to be attempting to remember every single video game I've ever played. I'm doing this in an attempt to start cataloging what my top 100 games was, because I was talking to a friend the other day, and I used the phrase like, oh, this cracks my top 30, or this would crack my top 50. Like a lot of shorthand like that for, this is going to be one of the better games I've played my entire life. But it had me thinking, because I actually never sat down and attempted to make a actual top 100 games list. And saying something like this cracks my top 30 is effectively meaningless unless I have an established top 100 games. And in order to make that list as accurate as possible, I need to remember every single video game I've played. I could sit down, I could scribble 100 games. I'm going to be starting all the way back. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to be cataloging every single video game I've ever played, and I have three general vibes that these are going to go into. So we have Dap Up. Those are games that when I remember it, it's a fond memory. I was contemplating having two sections for this, just like games that I think would crack the top 100, or like Golden Children I was going to call them. But I feel like for the sake of the list, I'm going to just put any game that I have a fond memory of in the Dap Up section. Anything I remember that I'm like, oh yeah, I enjoyed that, that's going in Dap Up. Doesn't matter if it's one of the best games I've ever played or just something I remember fondly from 20, 30 years ago. And that's going to be in the Dap Up section, and I assume the top 100 list will be entirely made up of games from that. My second column here is going to be and so this is probably going to be where I get spicy and controversial, but this is going to be consisting of games that either I played and I didn't like, I played for an hour and I just fell off of it and I didn't really feel compelled to, but I've had to play the game at some point. So there's some games that I kind of like, if I watch reviews or anything like that, and I'm just like, I know that's not for me and I never touch it, I'm not allowed to put that in this category. This is effectively for games that I've played. And there's going to be some hurtful things in this category because the games that I thought of when I was thinking this category are going to be brutal. But I am me, and I will not apologize for that. And then my last column is going to be I Failed You. That is for games that I desperately have always wanted to play. I just never had the time or the motivation or the chance to play them or anything like that. Like, I genuinely feel like less of a person for not having played these games. And these are games that I would like to actually play and rank into this list. Whether they fall in the left or the right category, we don't know. But I haven't played these games, and I genuinely feel bad about having never played them. And there's going to be some spicy ones in that column as well. And then I have a secret fourth column that we will cross that bridge when we get there. But there's a secret fourth column. And in order to do this list correctly and sit back and think of every single video game I've ever played, I'm going to be going to the Universal Video Games list. And I'm going to be going through every console that I've ever owned. And I believe I've owned, starting from like the NES, I've owned every major console. And there are a couple of games that are probably older than me. The NES is older than me. But there are a lot of games that are older than me that I have played, but I feel like they've gotten substantial ports and remasters or anything like that. We will cross that bridge when we get there. However, we will be getting into the thick of it now. So we will be starting with the first console I ever owned, or I ever had access to. It was my dad's, but we will be starting with the NES. And the NES has an insanely large library, and we're going to looking at not the bangers. This is all killer. We want the filler, because I've played some of it. And we're going to start from the top, and the moment I recognize a game that I've played, I will start yapping about it, and it will go into the list. I never played Bionic Commando, the original. We got the first entry of the list, Bionic Commando. I Have Failed You. I remember watching Giant Bomb play Bionic Commando Rearmed, and it looked awesome. I just never actually sat down and played it. I'm going to be insanely honest with myself, too, because sometimes I just like to lie about games that I played or I'm just familiar with enough to carry a conversation, but that was one of my staunch things. Like, nope, I will be telling the truth-ass truth. We got our first hit. Castlevania. I have played Castlevania 1, and Castlevania 1, it's going to dap up. We're dapping up Castlevania 1. And then I'm going to immediately commit a war crime. I have not played Simon's Quest. I hear nothing but bad things about Simon's Quest. However, we're going to pivot immediately into it. I played and absolutely love Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. I played one of the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers games on the NES when I was a child in the year, 1991. I don't know which one I played. And, yeah. I didn't think about games that I would vaguely remember. But that's what the, section is, so, So, I have played Contra. Did I break the website? I have played Contra. Contra, we're dapping up Contra. Contra's good shit. I beaten Contra with the Konami code because I'm a coward, but that's okay. I fucks with Contra. This is another game that I definitely have rented from a Blockbuster over a weekend, but I've never thought of it past that. So, the Darkwing Duck. Is this just Donkey Kong ass Donkey Kong? Because I've played Donkey Kong ass Donkey Kong. And we'll dap up Donkey Kong. Like, that's a game that I remember. Also remember Donkey Kong 2. Or Donkey Kong Jr., if you will. I played Donkey Kong Jr. Like, I remember, because this game, like, Mario's a slave master, and he has a fucking whip, and he dies when you beat the game. And I just remind people that Mario canonically died at one point. But Donkey Kong Jr. is going in the, because I don't know, there's not a lot of nostalgia over Donkey Kong Jr. Alright, but we got some things on the board. Double Dragon, featuring Bimmy and Jimmy. I've played Double Dragon. And I kind of don't like beat-em-ups. I'm going to be real with y'all. I don't really like beat-em-ups a lot. I've played tons of beat-em-ups because there's so many, but I don't know. I just never liked them. I never really liked beat-em-ups like that. This is exhausting, and I am on the fourth letter of the first console, and I'm already exhausted. This is going to be a fucking awesome experience. So this is Dragon Quest. However, the game I played was a little game called Dragon Warrior, because that's what it was localized as. And I love Dragon Quest. I have the little slime guy tattooed on me. But it's kind of like it is a historically incredibly important game for popularizing JRPGs and turn-based combat, and it wasn't the first of its kind, but it was the most popular of its kind. Like, I remember, like, being handed that game for free. Like, I had, like, my uncle just give it to me, because he just got it for free, and he didn't give a shit about it, and he was like, I don't know what the fuck this is, you can have it. And I played it, and I was like, I don't get this. It also involved a lot of reading, and I was a child, and I probably couldn't read. I still can't. I'm not here to read. So, yeah, we're gonna put that in the section. DuckTales, dapping up DuckTales. I haven't played DuckTales in a long time. I did play the retro remaster of DuckTales a couple, maybe 10 years ago or so, and that was good. But DuckTales just mostly I played it on the emulator. There's a lot of games here that I'm just like, yeah, I just played that on the emulator. Okay, Excitebike. I've played Excitebike. I don't think I've ever actually played Excitebike on a cart, but Excitebike is one of those games that they put Excitebike in other games, so it's weird. I remember playing it, the 3DS version, where it was 3D, and I've definitely played Excite Bike, like maybe on an emulator or something like that. And I don't know. It's just an old game. There's gonna be a lot of games in the section just because they're old, and I'm like, yeah, it's an Excite Bike. Like, I'm sure it was rad to someone, but I definitely remember, like, my dad owning the Family Feud game on the NES. Like, this screen is unlocking memories, but like, it was one of those, I couldn't read. I was a child. I didn't know what the fuck was going on in this game, and I probably booted it up and played it for a little bit, but I definitely played it at some point. There was a lot of, like, my dad had a lot of weird games that just involved reading, and I was like, I don't give a shit about reading, dude. The original Final Fantasy. I have not played the original Final Fantasy. Final Fantasies 2. I have not played Final Fantasy 2. Any incarnation of Final Fantasy 2. I have played a version of Final Fantasy 3. However, it was the 3DS, or excuse me, the DS port of Final Fantasy 3. I don't think that counts. And then it's fucking goes to 7? Is this some sort of... Oh, this came out in 06. Okay, they're including weird fan ports and stuff. But the first 3 Final Fantasies, the NES trilogy, I never played 1 or 2. I've never played 3 on the original NES. I have played 3 through the DS port, which is a completely different game. But we will cross that when we get to the DS in 400 hours. Ghostbusters. That's another game that just my dad owned, and I tried playing it, and I could not comprehend head nor ass of this game as a child, but yeah, I don't know. That is such an appropriate name for that category. Okay, Ghost and Goblins. I've played Ghost and Goblins. Ghost and Goblins is a game that I definitely played after the NES. We're dapping up Ghost and Goblins. Have I beaten this game? No, I'm terrible at games. But do I remember it fondly? Absolutely. Okay, I've played Ice Climbers, but I've played Ice Climbers through, like, Smash Brothers or, like, some of those NES, like, 8-in-1 packages. Like, it's Ice Climbers, I guess. I don't know. Like, let's be real, no one has affinity or nostalgia for Ice Climber the game except for Nintendo themselves. Okay, I have played Ice Hockey. Ice Hockey was one of those weird games that, like, when I became an adult collector, you know, you just buy random games. You get these weird lots of video games. So it's like one of those, like, I've definitely booted up every game I've owned at one point when I was way into collecting, and Ice Hockey is a game that I've definitely played at some point in my life. And it's like one of those, you play it for 12 minutes, and you're like, yeah, I don't know how to play a game on the NES, and this is obtuse, and if I want to play a hockey game, there's a million better choices, but just throw it on the shelf and never remember it. Okay, fun fact about James Pond 2. This is a fun story. I never actually played this game, but I remember trying to download a ROM of it when I was a kid, and I was like around like maybe 12, 11 years old. I just discovered emulation on my mom's computer, and I downloaded a ROM of James Pond 2, and it just never worked, and I'm 90% sure it was a virus that absolutely fucked my mom's computer up. And I absolutely ruined that computer trying to play James Pond 2, because there was a point when I discovered emulation. I was like, anything that sounds vaguely interesting, I could just download and play, because, you know, that's how emulation works. Okay, Jeopardy's a game. There's a lot of this in this category. I want to get out of this category of video game, but games that I definitely remember my dad owning or my uncle owning, and I tried to play it, and again, like, games that require knowledge and literacy, and also were probably tomato gelatin mold used as a garnish, like fucking ketchup. Wow, I must have been stupid as a child. I mean, I was. All children are stupid, but I was especially stupid. Okay, Joe and Mac is a game I remember playing. But I just remember always dying on the second stage of Joe and Mac. Joe and Mac was a game that I never owned, and I definitely played at my cousin's house. because that was just games they had. Because you would go to your cousin's house and they had different games than you that your dad had, so you got to play new exciting stuff such as fucking Joe and Mac. I don't know. Okay, I've played Muscle. I've played Muscle because as a child I really liked the anime Ultimate Muscle, and I remember seeing this game with like Kaneko Man on it, and I was like, oh, there's Kaneko Man video games? Well, I didn't know. I was like, there's Ultimate Muscle video games, and I played this, and it was incomprehensible nonsense, and yeah. Sorry, Muscle. Okay, Mario Bros. Oh, like original. Okay, so I have played this game, but I played it. I believe it had a port in something else, but of course you've played original Mario Bros. If you're some sort of gamer. Do I want to dap it up? Yeah, I'll dap it up. I remember just playing this, and I don't know, just it was a good time. It was probably in some sort of compilation or something. I don't know if I ever played it on the NES, but definitely played that. I've played every Mega Man game. And we are going to add them to the list. So, Mega Man. Dapping up Mega Man. Love this game. Like, nothing I could say about it that the world hasn't already. Dapping up Mega Man. No one's coming from my head today. We're dapping up Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 gets dapped up. Mega Man 3 was one that I also remember fondly. I know people don't like Mega Man 3 for weird reasons, but I just like the boss designs. Like, I don't know, Snake Man, Shadow Man. He was a ninja. Needle Man. He shot needles. Dapping up Mega Man 3. 4, 5, and 6. If you put a gun to my head, before I even clicked on these, if you put a gun to my head, I remember things about 4. That's the one with Dr. Cossack and the Russian guy. And I know Mega Man 6 is the World Tour one where, like, there's all the international bosses. You have, like, Yamato Man and Nightman. But like, whenever I play Mega Man games, I usually play them in a marathon. I'll start with 1, I'll end at 8. But, like, 4, 5, and 6 are almost always, like, these blurs for me. But I'm going to dap up 4, because that's the one where Proto Man was introduced, so we're dapping up 4. And 5 and 6, I couldn't differentiate these games. I couldn't differentiate those games. I know one of them, I believe 5 is the one where I'm giving them the treatment only because like I don't know, just when I think of Mega Man, I think of those first 3 games, maybe the 4th one. I have thoughts about 7 and 8, very specific thoughts, but just those games just blend in, right? And I know they're just more Mega Man, and more Mega Man is good. And they're not bad games, but like one thing that I'm going to be weighing a lot for like games, especially, is like their impact on me. And I feel like, with 4, 5, 6, those games are just like the impact of Mega Man just wore down. Like I remember downloading all of these on emulators and playing them back to back to back to back. And yeah, like I was the nerd that tried to figure out Mega Man lore and write fan fiction when I was 10 years old, and I was not a very cool child. So there's only one franchise, maybe 2, that I can think of that every single entry is going to get dapped up. Oh, I've played Metal Gear. So I played this game, like, I remember, like, I'm obsessed with Metal Gear Solid. I have the exclamation point tattooed on me. I love Metal Gear Solid. And I remember, like, being at a game store when I was, like, 15 and seeing that Metal Gear had an NES game, and I looked at the cover and it had like, well, I don't remember was this the American cover? We're gonna Metal Gear NES cover. Okay, yeah, it had the weird Michael Biehn because plagiarism and Kojimbo are hand in hand. But I just remember, like, oh, it's very obviously Metal Gear, and obviously you knew, like, through the Metal Gear games that there were previous Metal Gear games, and then I was such a Metal Gear fanboy that I was like, I gotta play every single Metal Gear game ever, and I remember playing Metal Gear on the NES. Literally, like, just went from like Metal Gear Solid 2 to like, oh my god, this game exists. I gotta play the original Metal Gear, and obviously the original Metal Gear is an MSX game that I have played. So we're gonna rank those real quick because I'm not gonna hit the MSX in this, but I've played Metal Gear. We're gonna classify this as NES. We're gonna that, and you know what, bro? We're gonna Metal Gear MSX, and we're gonna on Metal Gear 2. I've never played Snake's Revenge. I can thankfully say that I've never played Snake's Revenge, which is but enough of the fandom has rejected Snake's Revenge. I'm shocked at how long the list is. I thought it'd just be nothing but bangers. I thought it'd be the other way around. Maybe I am a fickle bitch. I don't know, but there's Metal Gear. I definitely played that game, and it's really bad translation, and the I have feel started to sleep or whatever it is. The truck have started to move. Like, let's pull that one up. Like, the truck have started to move. Like, I remember those kind of memes and shit posts, and that's a lot of the legacy of Metal Gear on the NES, which is a weird port of Metal Gear on the MSX, and I played those games because they were in subsistence, I believe, and they're boring, and I don't care, and the legacy of those games starts with, the legacy of the Metal Gear franchise starts with Solid. I've never played Mother. I've never played the original Mother or Earthbound Origins. I have failed you. I almost skipped one of my favorite games of all time. All this mulling over Mega Man lore. I almost skipped out on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I don't believe in Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream. That is not a real game. I know why it exists, and I know Tyson was in a lot of trouble in the 90s. But Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Like, I've played Miss Pac-Man at one point in my life. Like, Miss Pac-Man's one of those games, like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, they get ported to everything. I know Miss Pac-Man exists because of, like, licensing weirdness. And I know I've played Miss Pac-Man, but, the Ninja Gaiden trilogy. I have played the Ninja Gaiden trilogy. I played them all through the Super Nintendo port, but I definitely played them on emulators also. So, I'm going to dap up Ninja Gaiden. That's the game I remember the most. Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3. I know I've played these games. I know I've played these games. I don't remember ass or hair of anything of these fucking games. And that's okay. Because they're just going to get the treatment. Because they didn't resonate with me. 30 years later, I don't remember shit about you. I don't know what abilities they added. I don't know what they do differently than the original Ninja Gaiden, but we're dapping up the original Ninja Gaiden. This will not be the last time Ryu Hayabusa is going to get dapped up. Any person my age has played Pac-Man at some point. We're going to dap up Pac-Man. We're going to dap up, because it's Pac-Man. Like, I don't... It's Pac-Man! Oh, and we got a big one. Paperboy. I don't know why, but I just fucking hated this game as a kid. This might be the first game I hated, because it was just lame, and it was dumb, and I didn't understand it, and I was bad at it. And I think that's enough mental capacity for however old I was when this game came out, or however old I was when I discovered this game. It's older than me. Yeah, I just, like, I don't know. I remember people just like, yeah, man, Paperboy is such a good game. Like, it's one of those games that has a lot of, like, buzz around it, but then you play it, and I'm just like, huh? Pro Wrestling. It's the game would have the Starman in it. Yeah! This game sucks, but I've played it, and I remember, like, as a child obsessed with wrestling, I was like, I need to play so many wrestling games. There's a wrestling game on the NES. That's also why I played Muscle, because I like Kaneko Man. Alright, Puyo Puyo. I love me some Puyo Puyo. However, I did not play the original Puyo Puyo. My first experience with Puyo Puyo was Kirby's Avalanche and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. We will get to Puyo Puyo in time. But Puyo Puyo might shooketh the people on how far it goes in later videos. Where's RBI Baseball 1? Are you gaslighting me? Is that a game that doesn't exist? RBI Baseball NES. Or is it like one of those weird, like only it was only a Super Famicom game? No, this game's real. There is an RBI Baseball. And I played it and that game owns. Dabbing up RBI Baseball. But why is it not on this Master Sheet? I played one of these NES Sesame Street games. I need to... Like, I think my brain will remember the cover. Because this is definitely something my mom bought me. I think it's this one. No, it's not Hide and Speak. No, I didn't. Okay, my lizard brain is telling me, because I remember this Ferris wheel. But my mom definitely bought me this game because I was of the age of buying Sesame Street games. And I don't remember jack shit about it other than my mom bought it for me and I played it. And it was attempting to teach. But as a child, I craved violence. But you know what, Mom? You tried. You tried to make me not like this. You failed. I have played Space Invaders. That's a game that my dad owned. Space Invaders. Like, what do you want me to do? It's Space Invaders. Like, it's a video game. It didn't really leave a particularly strong impression on me. I remember really being... My uncle had a ton of Mad magazines. And... Like, I remember at one point really, really, really wanting to play the Spy vs. Spy game. And I obviously I was never able to find it in person, and I was never able to find a working ROM of this. I can probably do it now, but I don't care now. But like, I remember being so obsessed with like the Spy vs. Spy comics. Like I used to have signs that you're undiagnosed autistic child. I used to go through my uncle's comics and read the Mad magazines with the Spy vs. Spy comics, and then I had a tally of like, okay, this one the black spy wins, this one the white spy wins, and then I would sit there and, you know, use that as data. I don't remember who ended up ahead. I know there's a couple that end in draws also. And there was like Spy vs. Spy cartoons on Mad TV. Like, I was fucking obsessed. The idea of people murdering each other and the fun designs. And I remember thinking, oh, there's a Spy vs. Spy game, I gotta play that. But it's probably NES dog shit jank, and I'm probably a better person for never playing it. Is Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. We're dapping up Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. Like, I remember playing it for the first time, and just like the ingenious game design, being able to teach you the game. Super Mario Bros. 2. We're dapping up Super Mario Bros. 2. That game's fucking weird. And I mostly played it through like the collection on the NES. And also through like Super Mario Advance 1, I believe, was Super Mario Brothers 2. So that'll be we'll just come back to Super Mario Brothers 2, but this game's weird. It's got Birdo in it. I don't know, this game owns. Like, I know it's the weird game. Like, a lot of the Zelda... Like, a lot of Nintendo games got weird for the second entry. Like, Castlevania got weird. Mario got weird. I know it's Doki Doki Panic reskinned as Mario Brothers 2 because us Americans are too stupid to be able to comprehend how hard the Lost Levels was. I have played the Lost Levels. We will get there. But, I don't know. Doki Doki Panic is fucking rad. Super Mario Bros. 2 is rad, but I've never actually played Doki Doki Panic in its original form. Super Mario Bros. 3, no war crimes here. We're dapping up Super Mario Bros. 3. Okay, this looks like it. okay, I haven't thought about this game in 30 fucking years. But I have played this, and this looks familiar to what my brain remembers. But seeing as I struggled to remember this game's existence, we're gonna hit it with the Tetris. Tetris is a hard one to rank. I've had Tetris on the NES. I had Tetris on the Game Boy. We will be talking about Tetris a lot because I've played a lot of incarnations of Tetris. We're gonna go to Tetris. Tetris will get dapped up. Iterations of Tetris will get dapped up, just not this one. Legend of Zelda. I'm tempted to... Okay, this is the first game that can go between these two. That could go, because obviously it's the first Legend of Zelda game. And it led to an incredible, incredible franchise with a lot of incredible entries. But I definitely... my fond memories of Zelda is watching my dad play it. And my dad was like taking notes, and he had a little notebook. And I was too dumb to play this game, so I would just sit there and watch him play. And he would like sit there and take notes and get mad and get drunk at the same time. And you know what? We're dapping up Legend of Zelda. Like that. The nostalgia of just thinking about it made me feel a little warm. Like the idea of me playing it as an adult now is kind of ghetto, but time and place and that impact and like that, you know, I know it may sound like my dad played a lot of games. He really didn't. He really didn't play a lot of games. I was the one who played a lot of the games in the family, but that was one game that he was engaged in. He was absolutely engaged in. There's going to be some like later PS2 titles that my dad played that I'm going to talk about, but those are fucking mostly funny stories. But like I remember him like actually I remember my uncle's girlfriend, to go back to the Legend of Zelda. I remember my uncle's girlfriend could beat this game in like an hour. And she came over and just beat this game in an hour, and it pissed my dad off. And he was so fucking mad because he was sitting there taking notes, and she was like just able to just rip through this game in no time, and she just knew where everything was at. I remember downloading this on an emulator and playing it for like 20 minutes. Only because like when I was in the emulator phase of my life, I was just like, I can play anything. Tiny Toons had a video game on the NES, and that was just really exciting, but not really feeling super hyper fond about it. Okay, I've played Wolverine on an emulator mostly to experience that intro song because it fucking rips. Like, but this was way later in life where it's like, oh yeah, Wolverine, that's the game with the awesome intro song. And yeah, I love me some X-Men, but they don't have a lot of good games. They're in that camp. Is Yoshi's Cookie the light gun game? No, I've played Yoshi's Cookie. I played this. I'm remembering this now, and I just remembered it existed upon seeing this. This is a game that I've probably played on some sort of compilation or emulator at some point. Is Yoshi the... This is weird. I definitely played this. This is developed by Game Freak? Okay. Ken Sugimori did the art for Yoshi. I've definitely played this on like an emulator or something, but... I have never played Zelda 2. Actually, no, not even, because when I got the NES Classic, I was like, Zelda 2 is so weird, I didn't even play it on the NES Classic. Like, when I got the NES Classic, I was just kind of running through and just playing every game for like 10-15 minutes. And I just did not... Is that a horse person? What the fuck is going on in this game? Did I fail you, Zelda 2? Do you need to go in the I failed you section? Nah. No. This game's fucking weird. Oh, this game's fucking weird. Alright, that's the NES. So, we're going to take a couple steps back. We're going to go back to platforms. And we're going to move on to the next system that I owned. Okay, so this website is being pedantic, and the Sega Genesis is listed under the Mega Drive. So we will be exploring the Sega Genesis. There's probably going to be a little more action on the Sega Genesis than there was on the NES. There's absolutely going to be. This is the first system that I owned or was given to me, and it was my system. It wasn't just me bumming off my parents. Aladdin. So I know there's a lot of debate over Aladdin on the NES, or excuse me, Aladdin on the Genesis versus Aladdin on the Super Nintendo. I did not play the Super Nintendo version growing up, and I don't know. This brings me back. This is a dap up game. We're dapping up Aladdin. This was like made by Interplay, I believe, the Earthworm Jim people. And that was a weird game, but I have good memory. There was an Aladdin 2. Oh, it's bootleg shit. God, can you stop with the bootleg shit? Excuse me? Okay. Alright, so I need to... Altered Beast. Oh, I think it's time to bust out the secret category. Altered Beast. That was a launch game on the Genesis, and I definitely owned it, because it was one of those, like... I think it was like a pack-in game. Altered Beast fucking sucks. However, some garbage is okay. Trash I enjoy. You have gotten your first entry. Fucking Altered Beast. Rise from your grave. Like, this game sucks. It is objectively a bad game. However, I played it a lot as a child. And again, like, the high of, like, the Genesis being my system. It was mine. I got to play my own shitty games on it. Anime. Oh, I remember this game. I remember beating this game. This game was insanely hard. I remember, like, Pinky and the Brain were, like, the final boss, and they were, like, in a tuxedo mech suit. Yeah, there's a lot of games, that, especially in the Genesis era, there's going to be a lot of games of, like, yeah, I played this as a child, and I never thought about it again after playing it. This is the age of people buying games for me because I was a child. So they're like, hi, here is an Animaniacs game for you, child who watches Animaniacs. And there's going to be a lot of those in here. Balls 3D. I've played Balls 3D. I played it through an emulator because when I was a child, I was just downloading any game I can think of that looked remotely interesting that had a ROM available. And I was like, oh, dude, I gotta play Balls 3D because it says balls in the title. It just says balls. And I think I owned this game when I was collecting games too. Like, yeah, it's a fucking nothing game, but just I remember there's a lot of weird, edgy 90s games. I played this game. This game sucks. This was a game that was purchased for me as a child. I remember owning this, and I remember walking away saying, yo, this game's ass. And game, for me to hate a game as a child takes a lot. Again, I just divulged that I played a lot of Altered Beast, which is a game that is also ass. So, licensed game that have Batman in it, and it being bad enough. Wait a minute. I missed something. I missed Battletoads in the NES. Okay, I've never played the NES. I've never played the Genesis version of Battletoads. However, we're gonna dap up Battletoads because it's fucking Battletoads. It's got that dope pause music. But I must have skimmed over that. See, this is why I'm going through everything, because I'm gonna forget things. There's been multiple releases of games, and I trust the process. Okay, I played Boogerman. I played Boogerman on an emulator, I believe. Because again, like a lot of the games with like catchy, edgy titles, when you're just downloading shit at no cost, you're just like, whoa, I gotta play Boogerman. Boogerman's probably dope. Like, I have no lasting standing memory of Boogerman. I don't have any strong memories of Boogerman. I do remember this, like a lot of like GamePro ads for Boogerman just being like gross out humor, very Ren and Stimpy era. Bubsy 2. I've definitely played Bubsy 2 at a friend's house. And I don't know. I don't have strong feelings for Bubsy. That might be the only Bubsy game I played. I definitely did not play Bubsy 3D. Bugs Bunny and Double Trouble. I have a very vivid memory of this game because this game just did not work unless like you've really like had to like take a Q-tip and wipe the game out. Now this is like a game that my mom bought for me because I love Looney Tunes, and I don't really have a. I mean, I didn't play the Mega Drive version of it, but I don't really have a strong memory of this game, but I definitely know I played it and owned it, and I remember the struggle of getting it to work, because it's like, I don't know, everyone who grew up with a Genesis had that one game or two games that just, no matter how many times, it probably had like messed up contacts or dirty contacts or something on that, but that game just did not work. No matter how many times I put it into the system, no matter how many times I put it in there, you'd have to do that and blow the cartridge out like a million times before it worked. I remember this game being difficult for that reason. And I remember my mom being mad because she was just like, oh, do I need to take it back? And I'm like, no, it worked once, Mom. I promise. God. Ooh, Castlevania Bloodlines. This game owns. This game does my favorite thing that video games do, where it's like you could just play as the regular dude, or you could play as a different guy with a different weapon. That is some foreshadowing, but when the games do that, we're dapping up Castlevania Bloodlines. I played this game significantly later in life. I played this game as an adult because I found it at like a pawn shop for like $20, and I knew, I was like, oh, I've never played this game, but I have to buy it. And I actually played it, took it home. Like, it was probably maybe 2017, 2018 when I finally played it, and I actually finished it. So, like, yeah, it held up. Good Castlevania game. Oh, Lord. Oh, Clay Fighter. This game fucking sucks. Oh, but I spent so much time playing Clay Fighter. Because it was like Mortal Kombat for kids. Like, hey, it's Mortal Kombat and you can have the hyper violence, but it's clay people. This game sucks. But some garbage is okay. Some garbage is okay. Clay Fighter fucking sucks. I played Comic Zone. I remember really wanting it. I remember looking at like an EGM ad for this. I wonder if I could find it. Comic Zone magazine ad. Like, there was just this really like crazy advertisement for Comics Zone. I remember seeing in like an EGM or something like that. And spoiler alert, it's going in the section. Contra Hardcore. Contra Hardcore is a game I played and I still own. I believe I have the card of this. We're dapping up Contra Hardcore. I never finished it. The game's hard as shit. But it's like, it's Contra, but it's weird. There's like a dog man in it. It's so, like, it's Contra in spirit. But it's, like, Contra's usually just about two buff dudes, and this one's just weird. Has a girl in it. You play as a girl in a Contra game. And they all have, like, different abilities, and there's, like, a dog thing. But, you know what? That's a fond memory. Cool Spot. There's a copy of Cool Spot maybe 12 feet away from me right now. I have played Cool Spot. This game sucks. I'm going to put in the... It's not delicious garbage. This is like... The very first time I played Cool Spot, I was on vacation in Minnesota with my family, obviously. I was a child. And I remember my uncle, like, the hotel had a Genesis in it. And we got to, like, go down to the desk and rent a game, and this was the most appetizing thing they had available, was fucking Cool Spot. So, okay, I guess. Earthworm Jim 1. Alright, I know the creator of Earthworm Jim is a problematic person, however, I have played this game, and, like, oh, it's between these two. Only because I played the Earthworm Jim games in reverse. So this is a thing that happens with kids. They play a game that's like a numbered sequel, and it's like, oh, you get to play this game 3. And then you discover, oh man, that means there's 2 other ones that are older that I can go back and play. I played Earthworm Jim 2 first. And then I went back and then I played Earthworm Jim, the original. And I remember Earthworm Jim also had a Game Boy Advance port that I played and I owned also. But when I think of Earthworm Jim, I think of Earthworm Jim 2, which we're dapping Earthworm Jim 2 up. My mother hated this game. She regretted buying it for me. Because this game had a sequence where you were bouncing baby puppies on a marshmallow, and if you missed them, they would splat. And as a child, I thought it'd be really funny to intentionally let them splat so the little dog guy will turn around and fuck you all the way up. And my mom thought it was disgusting, and she thought it sounded gross, and she hated it. I remember way too much about this game. Like, I remember there's a boss in this game who's called Flamin' Yawn. Like, flaming the word, then yawn. Like, oh, yawn, right? Flaming yawn. And I remember my mom looking up at it, and she's like, oh, I get it. And as a kid, I'm like, I don't get it. Explain it to me, Ma. And she's like, it's an adult joke. You wouldn't get it. And I'm like, well, explain it to me. I want to know. And it's like, I thought it was something perverted for years until, like, I realized, like, oh, filet mignon. And I was like, why did my mom said that was an adult joke? I don't know. My mom's probably watching this. Ma, why was that an adult joke? Why'd you do that to me? I have played Echo the Dolphin. This might be a hot take, but on Echo the Dolphin, just because I don't know. Like, whenever I played a game and I got lost immediately, I wasn't a very curious and exploratory child. I liked a lot of action and direct violence, so Echo is a game that encourages you to explore. And I hated games like that. And I definitely played Echo the Tides of Time. And I'm going to put that under the category too. I just remember, my memory of the Echo games are both the same. I remember like, oh, there's Echo 2, maybe some more action-y or something like that. And nope. It's just a game where I played for like maybe a couple hours and I was fucking lost, and we didn't have the internet back then, so when you got stuck in a video game, you was just stuck. Like, as a kid, I had other games. I'm like, I'm going to turn off this game and I'm going to go play Earthworm Jim 2 and splat some of those dogs because that sounds like a better time. Maybe a hot take. I've played every Fatal Fury game. They've come out. They have arcade ports. They have remasters. They have trilogies. They have compilations. I don't really have a very strong feeling for the Fatal Fury series. I could not tell Fatal Fury 1 and 2 apart. I've played them. When we get to King of Fighters, I will light up for the Fatal Fury franchise. But until then, I fucks with Terry Bogard. Have I ranked any version of Frogger? Because I've definitely played Frogger. I think playing Frogger on the Genesis is probably where I did end up playing it. Like, it's one of those, like, you know, it's a classic. It's Frogger, but Ghouls and Ghosts, I've played this. This game's hard as hell. But I have played this, and I differentiate the... I know the difference between this and Ghosts and Goblins. Like, this is technically the sequel. This game's hard as hell. I remember playing this game and getting really far and then leaving the Genesis on overnight. And my mom turned it off when she got up for work in the morning because she's just like, oh, you forgot to turn your Genesis off. And it's going to explode if you leave it on, because people believed that. And I remember being devastated. I have played Golden Axe. Golden Axe is one of those Sega arcade games. Is it some trash is okay? No, it's kind of just It's Golden Axe. When it comes to ranking games, there's some games that I'm just going to call out that these games are going to go fucking far in that list. I contemplated giving them their own section, but I'm just going to rank them up with everything else. To be fair, Gunstar Heroes is going to go the distance. At many points in my life, I would say Gunstar Heroes is one of the best games I've ever played. Gunstar Heroes is incredible. And I will cross that bridge when I get there, but it is not the time for that now. I got shivers in my spine just thinking. I didn't realize it was time to talk about Gunstar Heroes already. And I just felt like goosebumps and chills down my spine. That is how important that game is to me. There's going to be a couple games that give me that feeling of just like, like these are the games I think about when I think about like my top 100 games and like hashing things out. Like Gunstar Heroes comes to mind. What the fuck is this? What is this? This is loaded. There is some... I might add a sickened but curious tier to some of this shit that I keep coming up about. No. We're not going to do that. But maybe. No, but... If I have a stronger reaction from something that I did not know exists. Okay, I've played a Madden game on the Genesis because my uncle definitely owned one. That's going straight into but I've definitely played. I believe it was Madden 95. I remember this game. I did not like this game as a child. It just felt clunky. I mean, these games are bad. But it was not fun. Now, Jurassic Park Rampage Edition is the game that I definitely played the most. And that title screen bops hard. And I remember that. And we're going to put that in trash I enjoy. But I didn't think it was trash when I was a child. It was just like, yo, there's a Jurassic Park game. And you get to play as a velociraptor. And you get to eat little dinosaurs to get your health back. Grant has a gun and he could shoot dinosaurs and he turned to skeletons. Alright, and we're going to come across Lemmings now. This is the version of Lemmings I played. I played Lemmings on the Genesis, on my uncle's house, and I could not comprehend what was going on or how to control it. And that is the extent of my... That is the extent of my knowledge of that. I am sitting 12 feet away from a reproduction version of Mega Man The Wily Wars. And we're dapping it up. We're dapping up Mega Man The Wily Wars. It had a save feature in it, and like I randomly booted it up like maybe like 4 or 5 months ago because it's like in my like Mega SG right now. And it was just like, oh yeah, it just has a save feature. Like I could just go back to Mega Man 1 and go fight Fireman. I don't know. It's Mega Man. It's good Mega Man. It's good Mega Man on the Genesis. Mickey Mania is the game that I played. Is Mickey Mania here on the list? This is it. I guess this is it. I played this game. I owned this game, and I remember like when David Jaffe, when I was obsessed with him, and he had the Jaffe blog. Oh, we're dapping up Mickey Mania. I remember that game well. But I remember the Jaffe blog, and I was like, oh, he made that Mickey Mouse game on the Genesis? That game owns. This is the beat-em-up one. No, this is the beat-em-up one. And there's the side-scroller. I've played both these games. I will not remember them. But they're going to go in the section. I don't like beat-em-ups. In old janky fighting games, and I really don't want to think about them past this moment, but I definitely played them. We have reached the Mortal Kombat trilogy. How we're going to handle this. I've played, I believe, every single old school Mortal Kombat game at one point or another. Mortal Kombat, like, 1 is a very impactful and important game. But I think the one I played the most was Mortal Kombat 3. Because that's the one that I remember asking my uncle to buy that for me. Because it was too violent and I wasn't allowed to have Mortal Kombat. But, honestly, I gotta dap up every Mortal Kombat game. We're dapping up every Mortal Kombat game. And this is representing the best Mortal Kombat is, the arcade versions, the Super Nintendo. Like, we're not nitpicking. Just the experience of Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3. I will say Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate Edition is probably or Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate is what I think of as the best and definitive version of Mortal Kombat 3, because that's the one that had Scorpion in it. Mortal Kombat 3 did not have Scorpion in it, which is madness. Alright, this is another game, MTV's Beavis and Butthead. So when I was under the letter B, I was looking for Beavis and Butthead, and I didn't see them. So then I was like, maybe it's a Super Nintendo game, but like, this is a game that like, when my uncle gave me all his Genesis games, because he's like, I don't play video games anymore because I'm an adult now. And I got a whole bunch of his old Genesis games and stuff. And remember playing that game. And it's another game that I just played it for like a couple hours and I got lost. And then it's one of those weird games that I just hung on to. Like, it was just in a box. So like when I was in my retro game phase and I was like going through old games that I still owned, I was like, oh, I still have my uncle's old copy of Beavis and Butthead. And I went and played it. And I was like, I played it for like an hour and then I got lost and died. And I'm like, yeah, I don't get this. And it's like one of those, like, the moment I have to pull up a FAQ to figure out how to play your game, I'm out. Ooh, we got some interesting dap-ups. I'm not a sports game person, but we're dapping up Mutant League Football. That game was very entertaining to me as a child because, like, you could just kill the referee if you didn't like his call. And I do believe Mutant League Hockey is the better game of the Mutant League franchise. And we're dapping up Mutant League Hockey because you can kill the referee if you don't like the call he made. NBA Jam. We're dapping up NBA Jam. I'm not insane. I'm not a sports person, but it would be sacrilege to not dap up NBA Jam. NBA Jam is dope. And I remember playing this game for one reason. I played this later in life, but CM Punk posted on Twitter that like he's like, you can't beat me at NHL Hockey 94 on the Genesis. And I was so obsessed with CM Punk as a person at the time. I have a lot of edgelord phases. I still probably am in one that I just don't recognize right now. But when I was in my CM Punk is God edgelord phase, I was like, oh, if he likes this game, then it must be good. And I went out and bought a copy of this game, and it cost me like $3. And I played it, and it was a hockey game, and you couldn't kill the referee in it, so it is inferior to Mutant League Hockey. So thanks for forcing me to buy that game, CM Punk. Phantasy Star 4. So I own this game. I'm sitting 10 feet away from it. But like I openly, I'll say I played it for like 15 minutes just to see if the cart worked, because I paid a lot of money for it. And I'm not going to consider that sitting down and playing it. Testing it does not count as playing it. Phantasy Star 4, I have failed you. I will play you one day. Ooh, this game slaps. I don't know. This is one of those weird games that my dad had, and I vividly remember this box art sitting in my living room. This is another game that my dad had like notes and stuff for, and I don't know. I remember playing this game and enjoying it. It probably sucks, but any game that I was able to play with my dad made me happy, because it was like, I said it before, he didn't really play a lot of video games, even though I've mentioned him 500 times playing video games in here. Like, he didn't play them the way that I played them, but so the games that he did really, really play and enjoy, where he would just get home and be like, oh, he would call me over and be like, yo, we're gonna play Zelda, we're gonna play Pirates Gold, that makes me happy. I don't think I've played this version of Pitfall in an emulator. And it's Pitfall, I don't really care. Did I rank some sort of Pitfall here? Alright, this is going to be my general Pitfall experience. So we're not going to be specific about the Mine Adventure. Just Pitfall as an entire franchise is going to go in, Prince of Persia. I have played the Genesis Prince of Persia. However, I played this after playing the PS2 game and enjoying it. I played the PS2 Sands of Time, loved that game to death. And I was like, oh, there's a Prince of Persia on the Genesis. Downloaded the emulator, and I was like, what the fuck is this? So, that's unfair of me as a child, but that was my immediate reaction. We need to talk about Chakan, the Forever Man, real quick, because I hate this game. But I did play it. I got this game when I was collecting games, and you would just kind of go to a game store that's got retro games laid out and just find random trash, and I remember looking at this and I'm like, what the fuck is this? What is Shakan the Forever Man? And I remember playing this game and absolutely hating it, but like it might be like some trash is okay, but I mostly hated it. But just like the way it controlled was like super funky. Like if you like hold the attack button, he would just go ha, and then just stay there, and you could like walk around like that. It was real goofy in a dumb way that left a impression on me. I definitely forgot it because they didn't call it by its full name, which is Shakan the Forever Man. But that's gonna go down to and with that addendum, we can continue here to Q and R. Okay, I've definitely played Rocket Knight. I owned Rocket Knight at one point, and I don't really have any strong feelings for Rocket Knight. It's one of those like mascot platformers that I feel like people like speak highly of it, but I played it like kind of after the hype. This is a game I definitely picked up when I was in my game collecting mode. I was like, oh, I definitely need to get a copy of Rocket Knight Adventures, and like I played it for like an hour, and I was like, okay, like I played Rocket Knight, and I don't have any sort of strong feelings towards it. I've played Shadowrun. Shadowrun. I know there's an argument. I never played the Super Nintendo version of Shadowrun. I know it is completely different. And this was one of the games that I got from my uncle when he just gave me all his Genesis games. And just looking at the cover, like I was like, man, this looks rad. And like it's a weird game. This is a game that I'm gonna dap up Shadowrun only because I have nostalgia for it. And it's a game that I probably want to play as an adult because I definitely like kind of played it like if it was a Grand Theft Auto game where you're like, oh, I could just go start shooting random civilians and stuff, but you can like kind of do stuff like that. I have played Shaq Fu, and like I know some people are hype and like maybe it should go into some trash is okay, but I think the joke of Shaq Fu is just in name alone. The part where you play it is miserable. It's not actually fun. Like the some trash is okay is going to be for games that are actually like the joy has been from playing them, not from their mere existence. I have not played Shining Force 2. Shining Force 2. I have failed you. First and foremost, we're gonna dap up the entirety of the Sonic the Hedgehog video games. All of them on the Genesis. So Sonic 2. Ooh, who am I adding? Sonic 3. Sonic and Knuckles. Dapping up the entire thing. We'll start shaving fat when we get to the top 100 games. Sonic 3D Blast can eat my ass. That game is trash. Not fun trash. It is just trash. Sonic 3D Blast is a game that I got my hands on way after the Genesis was out. So like I think I already had like a PS1 or a PS2 by the time I got my hands on a copy of Sonic 3D Blast, and I'm like, oh, this is the one game I never played, and that game is ass. I have played Sonic 3D Blast. I've saved the flickies by jumping through the hoop. Sonic Spinball. You know what? There was a time in my life I hated Sonic Spinball, and then I played it as like later in life, and I'm like, this game owns. Music is terrible. It looks weird. I don't know why Sonic is so squishy and he moves like that. Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. I played the Super Nintendo of this game. I could vividly picture the red cartridge in my head right now. But you're going under delicious garbage. Some trash is okay. So, this game sucks. But I actually played and beat this game, and it was like it was cool. You can play as Venom. And I like my Spider-Man and stuff. That's it. Oh my god, that's it. This game sucks. And I remember my dad's my dad's a real big Trekkie. And he absolutely like sit there and used to, this is one of his games, but there's no nostalgia for this because I was like, Dad, this game looks dumb. Alright, we're gonna do this for the entirety of Sunset Riders. I've played the arcade version. I always used to play the Super Nintendo version, but then I realized that the arcade version is significantly like better. And I was like, oh, this game I thought was awesome is even better when I discovered the arcade version of Sunset Riders. Bury me with my money. We're dapping up Sunset Riders. Okay, we're gonna put this here for Smash TV, but my memories is definitely of the Super Nintendo version. We're dapping up Smash TV. Is this what I think? I've played this game, and this is one of those weird games. It was developed by Blizzard. But that's all I remember. I just remember booting this game up, and then it's like later, and like this is a game I definitely picked up while collecting games, and I was like, this is made by fucking Blizzard? They made a Superman game? Okay, this game sucks. This is a game I played as a child, and I could not comprehend it, and it sucks, and I remember hating it. So, Incredible Hulk. Also, Incredible Hulk, just as a franchise, just does not have a lot of good games. There's one that we're gonna hyper EX dap up, and anyone who knows anything probably knows what it is. Lion King, some of the Virgin developed games. I remember being able to beat this game in one sitting, and then I remember later in life where people were like, "Oh, that game was so hard." And I'm like, "Oh, bro, I used to just blitz this game in my childhood." But you know, licensed platformer of a Disney thing that was popular for kids. Like, I liked it. There was a 2 and 3. Okay. I've played Lost Vikings. It's another game that, like, I definitely picked this up while game collecting, because it was like Blizzard used to make games that wasn't just the same bullshit. I like Blizzard games. We're gonna talk some Blizzard games at some point. I definitely played I definitely played this, but I know a lot of people have strong nostalgia for it, but I don't really like remember it too much. But I know for sure I played this Punisher game. I talk a lot about my edgelord phases, and the Punisher is definitely part of one of those, where I had a Punisher phase where I was like, the Punisher's the coolest. Not the best Punisher game. There is another, at least one more Punisher game we'll talk about in 600 hours. Toe Jam and Earl 1, how's it going, brother? Long time no see. We're dapping up Toe Jam and Earl. What we're not dapping up is Toe Jam and Earl 2, because that game sucks. I hate this game. They just turned the coolest little weird, like, prototype. Like, they took a really cool idea of a game that was like what would later become like roguelikes, and they just made it a boring platformer. I definitely was at the appropriate age to play Toy Story on the Genesis. Like, this is another game that I just rented off of Blockbuster, played it for a weekend, and I'm just like, and like never asked my parents to keep it. They didn't really capture me, and a lot of those licensed Disney games just, they suck, to be honest. Here it is, Trampoline Terror. This is such a weird game that almost no one knows about, and I remember like playing this at like I went over to someone's house who, like, when I was going to church as a child, and we went to another family's house, and they just had this weird game, and they had a Genesis, and I was like, you know, when you go to someone else's house, you're like, oh, what games do they have that I don't have? And I remember discovering this game, playing it, having a blast with it. I really enjoyed it. And then I never remembered what it was called until like years and years later. I just went on one of my hyper-focus, like, ADHD rampages to just figure out what that game was. And it's Trampoline Terror. And that is one of the few games I own a copy of. It's not like an incredible game, but, you know, like I just couldn't remember what it was. I just played it at some kid's house at some sort of weird church function a million years ago, and then I forgot that it existed. I've played Vector Man. I did not understand or enjoy Vector Man. Something about it, I don't know. There's some of those Genesis platformers. Never played Vector Man 2. Why would I do that if I didn't like Vector Man 1? Virtua Fighter 2 is getting dapped up. But I mostly played the Sega Saturn version of Virtua Fighter 2. However, I have a lot of fond memories of Virtua Fighter 2. Like, is it the greatest game in the world? No. It's probably bad. But it's not. But you know what I mean. Like, alright, I do believe I played Royal Rumble. That's the one where like 6 dudes can run into the ring. I think I played the Super Nintendo version of Royal Rumble, but we're gonna put it on here. We're gonna go ugh. It's like one of those. Like when I got into wrestling, it was around the time like the Nintendo 64 games were already out. So like at least WWF 2000 was already out. But then I was like, oh, I gotta play more wrestling games. So like going on emulators or like finding things at like the Funko Land, if you remember that. If you know what a Funko Land is, it is also time for your colonoscopy. X-Men! Definitely played this game. But this is a game that I played in reverse. So I played X-Men after I played X-Men 2 Clones Wars, which is the superior game. This game is hard as shit. And this is another game where like I beat this game. We're dapping up X-Men 2 Clone Wars. This is a game I want to play again because I recently went on a really deep binge of reading all the X-Men comics and like reading the Chris Claremont run and a lot of like the important X-Men stuff. And now that I understand that, I'm like, oh, you know what? I probably, because my only exposure was the cartoon when I played this as a child, so I definitely did not know what was going on. Okay, I've played Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It was the Super Nintendo version, but for consolidation's purposes, we're just gonna go, like, I know some people are very nostalgic about that game, but if I didn't finish it when I was a kid, and I was a child of super mega hyper focus, that probably meant that I wasn't vibing with it. We have gone through every game I played on the Genesis. Does the Game Boy really predate the Super Nintendo? Yes, it does. It is Game Boy time. Okay, I have played Battletoads Double Dragon. I did play the Super Nintendo version of this. And it's a beat 'em up. I did kind of like it though. Like I liked it more because I think just having the Double Dragons and the Battletoads and there was like this wackiness to it. Okay, I've played some Bubble Bobble, specifically the Game Boy version and other versions of Bubble Bobble. Dapping up Bubble Bobble. Just look at it. Some iconic character design going on in Bubble Bobble. You can't be mad at these little dudes, and if you are, then fuck you. Donkey Kong on the Game Boy is its own game, and it is not regular Donkey Kong. It's a full-ass platformer, and it goes hard. And I'm going to differentiate it, because I know Donkey Kong's up here. Game Boy. Donkey Kong on the Game Boy is an actual entire platformer, and that game goes hard, and that is the literal first game I played on the Game Boy. When I got my Game Boy, it came with a copy of actual Donkey Kong, and that game owns. I remember playing Donkey Kong Land. It's like a weird port of it. I owned this game. I remember it had like a yellow cart. I vividly remember the yellow cart, and like I don't know why, like one of my friends peeled it off at school, so like it was torn off, so it was just a yellow cartridge with no description. And so people, I think my friend did it so he could tell people it was Pokemon Yellow. Now I think about it, solving mysteries from 30 years ago. Anyway, I definitely had a copy of Donkey Kong Land, and I played it a lot as a kid. I think I beat it, but like, Okay, pole position. So we're gonna rank pole position. I've played pole position, not this version of pole position, but I've played like this is an Atari game. But like I remember my grandma one time got me one of those like the little Atari stick things that you plug into your TV, and it had a bunch of Atari games on it. And it's like, woo! She's like, oh, he likes video games, and you get to play games like pole position. That's the only reason why I know what a pole position is. Did not play the Game Boy version, but I played a version of it. I did play Final Fantasy Adventure, which I believe is Seiken Densetsu 1. But it was gaslit to us Americans as its own Final Fantasy game. And this is a game that I got on my Game Boy because this is kind of when I was getting into RPGs, but it was a little too dense for me as a child, but I remember owning it. Yeah, I also had Final Fantasy Legend. This is another game, like I vividly remember like opening this box after exiting a Funko Land, as one does, the year our Lord and Savior. But like that's another like I didn't have a PlayStation for a hot period, so when Final Fantasy VII was the hotness, and like there was a point in time where like a lot of these games were super duper cheap because they were just the old games. So like if you had a Game Boy or a Game Boy Color like I did, and you could just go out and just be like, oh, for $10 I can just get a whole Final Fantasy game. I'll see what this Final Fantasy stuff is about. And playing weird games like Final Fantasy Adventure and Final Fantasy Legend. Apparently, what poor soul is playing Madden Football on the Game Boy? Oh my god, jump scare. Alright. Please go away, Ghost of John Madden. I've definitely played Kid Dracula. But this is a game that I think like this is a game I played on emulators. When I was like, that sounds fun. Like, again, the power of emulator. But I'm not dapping up Kid Dracula. It's again, I played it for like maybe an hour. I also had too much power at my fingertips when I discovered emulation. I was just playing anything. And now we get to rank Kirby's Dream Land, other than that weird Fever Dream. Remember the gray Kirby on the box. That's what I was talking about earlier. I remember the gray Kirby on the box. Dapping up Kirby's Dream Land. I played the living hell out of Kirby Star Sticker, however. I played so much of this game. Like, I vividly remember this. This game owns. I love puzzle games. Kirby Star Stacker. Dapping up. We are dapping up the entire Holy Trinity. You know what? I'm just actually just going to consider them one game. I'm just going to put Pokemon Blue, Red. We're going to handle that for Pokemon games. And we're going to put Pokemon Yellow as its own game, because I feel like Pokemon Yellow was different enough. Pokemon Yellow was such a strange game. Because like, I don't know, I feel like Pokemon Yellow felt like Pokemon for rich kids. Right? Like, everyone had to make a choice of their starter, and the person playing Yellow was like, I have Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. Officer Jenny just gives you one, dude. And I'm like, shut up. We're going to take a quick break for Speedy Gonzales, because I played the Super Nintendo version of it, because I remember someone described it to me as like, it's like Speedy Gonzales is like Sonic on the Super Nintendo, and then there was like very famous ROM hack that just replaced Sonic with Speedy Gonzales, and that game sucked. But Tasmania is a game that I played. So I've played Tetris Attack. Tetris Attack is a game that comes in many forms. Sometimes it's like that Pokemon game on the 64. Sometimes it shows up as like that Kirby game was definitely Tetris Attack. Star Stacker was just Tetris Attack. And there was a point in time where they were just calling any sort of block folding game Tetris. Okay, I believe this had a Game Boy Color version. Let me check the Gaslightinator. The Rugrats movie, Game Boy Color. Okay, yes. I owned this game. I remember, ooh, KB Toys sticker. Ooh. Yes, I played and owned this game because I remember one of my friends, she got 2 copies for her birthday, and then she just gave me one. But there's one game, I was talking about crappy versions of crappy Game Boy ports of real games. This is the only copy of Killer Instinct I owned, which was Killer Instinct on the Game Boy. And I don't know why. But you know what? I'm going to dap up Killer Instinct as a concept instead of charging it for the crimes of the Game Boy version. But hard dap on Wario Land 2. Oh my god. This is a game that I fully expect Wario Land 2 to have some sort of 4-hour retrospective on how genius this game is. Because it is. Like, this game owned. This is the first game I ever remember 100%ing by myself with no outside help. And like it has all these alternative routes. Like this game's wild. I skipped Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land owns. That game's awesome. I remember having that on the Game Boy. I remember Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. This game had Wario in it. He was the main boss. He was a bad guy. This game owns. Alright, Sega CD should be a brisk. Because I want to say... I don't... There's one game I have played. There's someone on the I failed you list. And any thinking person can figure them out. But we'll get there. We got an addition to delicious garbage. R.I.P. Dana Plato. This is the last thing that woman did before she took her own life. But we'll always remember her. Yeah, I played this game when the remaster came out. Like, it was a game that I always watched Let's Players play, but I definitely feel like I vicariously played it enough, and then I actually clicked around when the remaster came out on, like, Steam or whatever it was. And this game sucks, and but it is hilarious. It is hilarious. Just overacted. None of it makes sense. All right, to the surprise of no one, Sonic CD. We're dapping up Sonic CD. Sonic CD, come on in. Snatcher. A Hideo Kojima joint. I've failed you. I have failed you, Snatcher. I will play Snatcher one day. You know what? I totally skipped the Super Nintendo. You know, it's kind of an important console for kids growing up in the 90s. And ActRaiser, right off the bat. ActRaiser, come on down. Dapping up ActRaiser. ActRaiser's a banger of a video game. It's got banging music. It was a launch game for the Super Nintendo also. And it got like a 3D remake. Like, when I say recently, I mean within like the last 5-6 years. And I can't bring myself to play it just because I love ActRaiser so much. Okay, I played this game. This is weird. I played this game. This game sucks. But I played this game after AVP, the movie, came out. And someone on like a GameFAQs board was like, that Super Nintendo game was dope. And I was like, there was a Super Nintendo game of Alien vs. Predator? This movie came out in 2003. How's that possible? Nope, this game came out and it's kind of ugly and it's kind of bad and did not give me the Alien vs. Predator-ing experience I thought I was going to get from this. I did play Alien 3 on the Super Nintendo. I remember, yeah, it's the one where she got her that flamethrower. This is a game I played on a ROM, so I actually never sat down and owned and played Alien 3. But I mean, I played it on an emulator, but it's one of those like I just played it for like an hour or two, and I'm like, okay. All right, this is kind of a growing up in New York and with black people kind of experience for me. I'm Afro-Latino, so I definitely remember playing the Bebe's Kids game, and it's quite bad. But like the movie is like a staple of black culture, so I definitely played it, and I was like, wow, this is bad. They made a game out of anything, and Bebe's Kids was getting a game. But I definitely remember playing it. Time to talk about influencers and streamers and internet personalities. But fucking Jeff Gertzman of GiantBomb.com kept bringing up Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball enough times that when I was like retro thrifting, I actually went out of my way to buy a copy of this game for like $3, and then I played it, and I was like, wow, this sucks. But I have played it, and yeah. Thanks, Jeff Gertzman. Here it is. Bishoju Sensei, Sailor Moon Super S. Not gonna bother saying the rest. This game owns. This game found a community way later in life, and then I actually bought a repro cart of it. I believe I still have it. But this game slaps. It's a fun little fighting game that like people just randomly started flocking to, and I had to get in on the hype, and I don't know, the game's entertaining. I like dumb fighting games. Breath of Fire 2. I have played you on an emulator. However, not impressed. No impression really left on me. This is a game I played after I played the titans of the Super Nintendo JRPG genre, and I was like, I gotta play more of these. And put me in a situation where I was very unfair to Breath of Fire 2. Have I failed you? No, I don't feel that bad about it. Definitely played Bust a Move on the Super Nintendo. I definitely owned this game. And you know what? I remember it fondly. I definitely played the Captain Commando game. Only because he was in Marvel vs. Capcom. I downloaded this ROM. And just, he looks so cool in Marvel vs. Capcom. And I played this game. And I was like, oh, it's a fucking beat 'em up. Like, how rad. And yeah, I was just... You know, good on Marvel vs. Capcom for introducing me to the concept of Captain Commando, and then I went and downloaded it, and then I was very unimpressed with this game, so definitely played that, though. But if he showed up, him and that baby robot want to show up in any future Marvel vs. Capcom game, he's getting dapped up, just not as a game, just him as a Marvel vs. Capcom character is getting dapped up. Castlevania Dracula X is a game I have played and finished. It is its own game, and I thought it was cool until I played the game it was trying to be, which is Rondo of Blood. And Rondo of Blood is fucking incredible. And this ain't no Rondo of Blood. But I actually owned this game when I was on my Castlevania kick, and I was like, I need to own every Castlevania game, and I'm not going to disclose how much I paid for Castlevania Dracula X. Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, I did play Clay Fighter 2. I know there was a Clay Fighter 2. I'm more fond of the first Clay Fighter. That's why it earned its spot in Trash I Enjoy. But I don't know, I think it's because I didn't own Clay Fighter 2. This is one of those games I played at a friend's house, and I was like, oh, okay. I keep talking about the possibility of a sickened but curious tier. But, like, I have thoughts about Congo the movie with the monkey laser scene. Maybe I'll play a clip of the monkey laser scene right here. But I'm like, what the fuck is a video game based off of the movie with the monkey laser scene going to be like? But I'm not strong enough on the sickened but curious section yet, but it's a concept. But Contra 3 owns. Contra 3, come on down. Did I rank Super C? No, I did not. Super C, you're eh. Donkey Kong Country. Nothing controversial. We're dapping up Donkey Kong Country. We're dapping up Donkey Kong Country 2 as well. However, Donkey Kong Country 3, we are not ranking because I never played this game. I never owned this game. I knew a friend that owned it, but I had no desire to play it. Only because, I don't know, it wasn't calling to me. And by the time this game was out, I think we already moved on, like, to other... Yeah, this game came out in 96, so I already had a PS1. The Nintendo 64 was probably, like, on its way out. And this is probably one of the last Super Nintendo games. And I just had no interest in this. I had already moved on from Super Nintendo games at that point in my life. And I never played it. And I don't really feel bad about it. Alright, we're just going to rank Doom as a concept right now. So this is Doom, and we're just going to put Doom original. But I played Doom on the PC. I remember my uncle gave me his computer when he upgraded and got a new one to go play games such as Half-Life. But he went and gave me his old computer that ran Windows 95, and he gave me a floppy disk with Doom on it. And I remember playing the original Doom, not the Super Nintendo version. I did have the 32X version of Doom when we get there. But I'm ranking Doom based on the best version of Doom. what we think of as standard Doom. I don't think any of the Genesis or NES, the Super Nintendo ports of this game, like, they were trying to be original Doom. I know they were not, but ranking Doom as a concept, Doom owns. That game awesome. Like, that was like, I remember because the computer was like not in the living room, so that was a violent game I could play without repercussion because my mom almost never watched what I was doing on the computer, which was great for teenage me. Alright, we're gonna go through these Dragon Ball games because I had a phase. I had a Dragon Ball phase. My Dragon Ball phase has not left me. I love Dragon Ball. So when I was into downloading emulators and just being like, oh, you can play Dragon Ball. There's so many Dragon Ball Z games on the Super Nintendo, and a lot of them never released in America, to my knowledge. But I played all of these games. I definitely, but like, I'm trying to remember which, yeah, because they all have these really distinct, like, these games suck, right? I'm going to collectively just say all these games suck. I've definitely played all of them, because as you can see, like, the games kind of like, this one goes up to the Frieza arc, this one goes up to Cell, this one goes up to the Buu saga. Like, they all had their very distinctive, like, they followed the arc structure of Dragon Ball. And I think I'm gonna lop them all into Dragon Ball Z Hyperdimension series. I don't feel like putting the same game effectively on the list 800 times, but I have played all these games. I definitely scummed my way through all these games, and they kind of suck. What is Gokuden Kaishin? You know what? I did play this game, but it's an RPG and requires a lot of reading. And it's based off of original Dragon Ball. So anyone familiar with original Dragon Ball, this is the opening scene. Bulma's in there, and she's got a loaded Uzi, and she's about to just spray on your ass. And I remember playing this game, but it was not translated. And I have not thought about this since I played it. Oh my god. Because I had not watched original Dragon Ball, so I was like, what the fuck is this? And why am I talking to a turtle? And, like, Dragon Ball Original hadn't aired on Toonami yet at the point that I played this game on an emulator. And I kind of want to... I'm going to do some investigating on this game. Close to the Sickened But Curious list, but we're not there yet. But I remember playing this game. I remember getting really confused. I remember talking to a turtle, which is actually very obviously early Dragon Ball, where he's talking to the turtle to get him to the water. So that makes sense now. I had not thought about this game in almost 30 years. Oh my god. I remember this game. I played a ROM hack translation of this game to completion. And it's like, it's weird because, like, when I was in school and I was thinking of, like, games, when we had to do our game design game project, I made a game that was effectively similar to this. It was an RPG, but you drew your cards from a deck, and it detailed what moves you can do, and then you had to shuffle your hand every turn, and it was mostly based off of the mechanics from this game, because it was simultaneously a card game and an RPG, and I had a good time playing that game. I remember, because, like, it's also how I filled in, like, a lot of my blanks of my knowledge of Dragon Ball, because it goes up to the Frieza saga and it ends at that. And I remember always thinking they should make another one that goes over the Cell saga. But I think of all the old Dragon Ball games, that is the one that I remember the most fondly. Dragon Ball games kind of suck mostly, but I'm very fond. This is a game I would love to play it again. It probably does suck just like the rest of them. But, like, when I was in my phase of, like, I really wanted to play RPGs, and I was just downloading anything I wanted on Super Nintendo emulators, and Dragon Ball RPG card game weirdness, and also, like, you can kick Cybermen and they explode when they hit the walls. That game was awesome. Earthbound. I have failed you. I did play Earthbound for, like, 20 minutes. But, like, when I was playing it, it was more like I did not actually intend to interact and play it for an extended period of time. It was mostly like, oh, look, it's Earthbound. But I I do not feel as if I played Earthbound, and nor do I. So we are adding you to the I failed you Earthbound. Spoiler alert: Mother 3 will be following that bit shortly. F-Zero. I have played and owned F-Zero. The game is hard as hell. I'm not really crazy about racing games, and I'm not really crazy about F-Zero, but it's a franchise that I think I played every mainline entry in it, and I kind of don't care. I never really felt strongly about it, but like, it's another game that I played because of the fighting game influence. It's like, oh, this is the Captain Falcon game. So like, by the time I was already playing F-Zero and interested in playing F-Zero, Smash Brothers was already out. I probably was playing Melee already at that point. And then I went back in time and played F-Zero, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Time to revisit the Final Fantasy franchise, because I believe Final Fantasy 2 was actually Final Fantasy 4, because that looks a lot like Cecil. I have played and enjoyed Final Fantasy 4. We're dapping up Final Fantasy 4, but we're gonna give it its Christian name here. I will say I did play Final Fantasy 4 on the PS1, so I did not play it on the Super Nintendo, but it is originally a Super Nintendo game. I've played Final Fantasy 5. There's this very popular ROM hack of Final Fantasy 5 that was the main translation. This game, I believe, didn't get localized until like shockingly later in life. This game never got an official like American release until like the crappy like iPhone port, I believe. I could be wrong, but I fondly remember Final Fantasy V. I remember the guy's name was Butts, and I think that's funny. Butts is a funny name. And Final Fantasy VI is going the distance. I'm not ready to talk about Final Fantasy VI yet. This game's incredible. This game changed my life. I do not shut up about this game. I do not shut up about Chrono Trigger. I do not shut up about Gunstar Heroes. Those are the three mega killers on the list so far. I'm just going to put Final Fight and clump the series together as I don't like beat 'em ups, but this was an interesting one. Got fucking Mike Hagar in it. He looks like Freddie Mercury. I used to have a shirt of Mike Hagar hitting a shark with a Paul driver, and I thought that was cool. But like, this game is cooler in aesthetics than it is where you sit back and actually play it. I could not differentiate any of the Final Fight games if you asked me to. I know like one of them looks better, the graphics get better. Yeah, like Hagar shows up and he's like in little short shorts, and as opposed to like the long pants in the first game, but like they have all been co-opted into Street Fighter lore anyway, so if I want to hang out with Guy or Cody or Hagar, I'll just go play other better games. Alright, we got 2 entries into I Have Failed You right now. They're part of the same series. We're going to put Tharsia up there because I do want to play Tharsia. I want to play every Fire Emblem game at some point. We're just going to put Genealogy right here. I want to play Genealogy. I heard it's getting a remake. It is not the current Fire Emblem game that's geared to come out, but these are 2 games that I do want to play. Fire Pro Joshi All-Star. This looks awesome. What? Okay, I love Fire Pro Wrestling, but I did not play until Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. And I believe Fire Pro Wrestling World on Steam is the game I have with the most hours in it. I spent a lot of time playing Fire Pro Wrestling, but I do not play the Joshi All-Star Dream Slam, which is an all-female Fire Pro game, and that is the coolest thing I've heard all day. We're doing it. We're making the Sickened But Curious. And there we have it, the inaugural entry for the Sickened But Curious category that I've been flirting with making this entire evening. We got it. A all-female roster version of Fire Pro Wrestling with wrestlers prominently from the 90s. Sounds fucking incredible. And that's it. I have been broken. I knew I would end up making this eventually, but we now have a 5th secret category that I didn't even know existed. But now that this category is established, I don't think there's anything retroactively that I want to go back and add, because I've already forgotten it existed, and that's okay. This is the Godzilla fighting game, and I definitely played this game. But I do believe this is a game I played on an emulator, but I was just like, it's like one of those, I've played it, and it's a Godzilla fighting game, and it's schlocky and jank, and controls bad, and there's definitely a race to just be like, hey, just any license, just make a fighting game out of it. But I did play it, and that's the point of this list, to remember every game I had played. Alright, Gradius 3. So, I have a story about Gradius 3. I had a roommate in college, and he was real into bullet hells and shmups. And he was like, dude, you gotta play Gradius 3. And I'm not really into shmups, I'm not really into bullet hells, but he bought me a copy of Gradius 3 and handed it to me. And was like, dude, you gotta play this game. And I played Gradius 3. And he also bought me a copy of Gradius 5 on the PS2. And then he would like sit there and watch me play these games. And I'm bad at them because I don't play them. So naturally I'm not good at them. But he's like, dude, you suck at these games. And I'm like, you fucking bought this for me. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then he would just pick up the controller and just wanted to show me how good he was at Gradius. And granted, he was fucking killer at it. But that was a very annoying interaction with this man. And I kindly asked him to stop handing me Gradius games. Harvest Moon. I played Harvest Moon. And I actually kind of dug it. I liked Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo. That was a game. I played this on an emulator. But I was like, hey, this game's kind of chill. And I really liked Harvest Moon. But I don't remember too much of it, but I remember this recently came up in like a conversation with someone I was dating. Where they were like, oh, I love the new, like they were playing like the new Harvest Moon on the Switch. And I was like, I played Harvest Moon like 25 years ago. I definitely remember downloading this on the emulator and playing Itchy and Scratchy the game. Again, like, emulators meant that I had access to every game ever released on the Super Nintendo. Your Play made a Lord of the Rings game on the Super Nintendo. I'm not sickened but curious. I just did not know this existed. This is more like I would watch a 2-hour video essay on someone breaking down all the details of the Lord of the Rings game on the Super Nintendo, but that will not be me. I didn't know that existed. Alright, I remember playing Madden 98 on the Super Nintendo. It was like part of like a big lot of Super Nintendo games I bought, and I was testing it. And I played it enough to be like, this is a football game from 1998. And the PlayStation 1 and the 64 were already out when this game came out. And that's kind of interesting, so that's probably why I thought it was like, it's worth trying, playing a little more. I'm not a sports person. If I'm not murdering the referees in my game, then I'm not playing a football game. We got a sweeper of dap-ups real quick. So I don't know what all this crap is. There's a lot of Kirby, no, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to assume that these are some sort of Japanese-only games, so I'm going to go off of what I recognize, which is Kirby Superstar. I believe that's a 7-in-1 compilation. Yeah, it is. Kirby Superstar, come on down. You're getting dapped up. Next, Kirby's Avalanche, which is our first encounter. Our first encounter with Puyo Puyo. Wait! I forgot Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. That game owns. Of all, like, I know they're both just Puyo Puyo with different skins to be sold on their respective consoles, but there's something about Mean Bean Machine that just, I don't know. That was always the Puyo Puyo retro game I went to, but I think Kirby's Avalanche is the one I played the most because I actually owned this as a kid. I got Mean Bean Machine way later in life. But we're dapping up Kirby's Avalanche. Kirby's Dream Course. I played this game like maybe 2 weeks ago because I was explaining to a friend that there's a Kirby golf game, and I just fired it up on my Super Nintendo because I have EverDrive, so I could just put whatever I want. And I'm like, bro, there's a golf game with Kirby in it, and Kirby is the ball, and you just put his dumb ass around. Kirby's Dream Land 3. This game's beautiful. This game is amazing. Like, I do believe it is a Super FX chip game. So that's one that I can't play on my EverDrive because I don't have the Super FX. So that's kind of one of my blank spots, but I'll just play it on my Steam Deck if I really wanted to play it. But Kirby's Dream Land 3 is a wonderful game. Like, I think this is like probably like the first attempt at cell shading a game. Is there a Kirby game I haven't dapped up yet? There going to be Kirby games that don't get the dap. I can tell you right now, there's going to be Kirby games that do not get dapped up. Live Alive. I have failed you. I own the Switch version, and it is in the shrink wrap. I think I played this game. This is a light gun game, right? Yes, I played this on an emulator because I was like, oh, there's a Mario game that I haven't heard of. But like, it's some sort of weird light gun game, or it might be a game that you play with the mouse. But like I remember programming, like figuring out how to play it on an emulator with a mouse. Mario is missing. I played this game. This is another game I played on an emulator. And this game tried to fucking teach me history. And the moment I caught on to that, I was like, who do you think you are, Luigi? You are not going to sit here and teach my dumb ass anything. I'm not here to learn. I'm here to step on fucking turtles. I'm here for my brain to be rotted out. You're sitting here trying to teach me about fucking the French Renaissance and shit. Get the fuck out of my face, Luigi. However, come on down, Mario Paint. So, this game fucks. The legacy that Mario Paint has left behind, the remixes, Mario Paint is the game that keeps on giving even to this day. Mario Paint has not stopped giving. My favorite insult when someone doesn't, like, when something sounds specifically weird, they're like, yo, this shit sounds like it was made in Mario Paint. And that's just a compliment to the legacy of Mario Paint. That it is it's just fucking dope ass game. The fly swatter game, you can sit there and swat the flies. You just sit there and paint and just, I don't know, like, it said what it wanted to do, and it did what it wanted to do, and it was rad, and it had a music maker, and oh, there's a fly swatting game. This game owns. I'm sure this game is probably bad, but this is the game that taught me what a Thanos was. And I remember playing this game, and I believe this is developed by Capcom. Yeah, it was. This game was awesome. One of the Capcom Marvel games. Not the best Marvel game. Like, there's a lot of stuff. Like, once we get to cut into 100 games, there's a lot of stuff in Dap Up that's just gonna get shredded immediately, and it's things like this. But I did play it, and I do remember it fondly. It taught me what a Thanos was, and then actually made me go out and read, like, Infinity War. And, like, when we were in the theaters watching, like, the first Avengers movie, and then we saw Thanos, and then I was that one nerd who knew who he was in the movie theater, and I was like, oh my god, that's the dude from War of the Gems. We got some franchise daps coming up. So I played Mega Man and Bass on the Game Boy Advance, and I remember it fondly. That game is insanely hard. However, it does, I talked about this with Castlevania Bloodlines, it does my favorite thing that video games do, where it lets you play as the edgy character. It just lets me play as Bass, who is effectively the Shadow the Hedgehog of the Mega Man universe. And I know Bass came before Shadow the Hedgehog, but look, they're both my gay sons, and I love them equally. Mega Man and Bass fucks. I remember Bass could shoot in like 8 directions, and he had this like little like machine gun Uzi thing, so like Mega Man sitting here with his little pew pew, and like edgy Bass is able to like This game's awesome. I do remember playing a ROM hack of this game, and they just called it Mega Man 9. So for the longest time, I genuinely thought like this game was Mega Man 9, because I believe it came out. This game came out after Mega Man 8. Yes, it did. It came out after Mega Man 8, and people just called it Mega Man 9. They're like, "Oh, Mega Man 9 came out on the Super Nintendo," and it used a lot of reused assets. It didn't come to America till the Game Boy Advance, but again, I remember this game fondly. Mega Man Soccer. I don't like sports games, but when sports games got a Mega Man in it, I'm listening. You can like shoot like with your Mega Buster, or you could play as like Cut Man or stupid shit like that, and he'll just shoot the ball with a pair of scissors. This game probably is bad in hindsight, but I remember my time with Mega Man Soccer fondly. We're just going to do a quick dap up thing. We're going to stop it. Mega Man 7. Megan? Mega Man. VII. It's getting dapped up. Mega Man X. And we're just going to dap up X1 and 2 and 3. But I'll tell you right now, I remember the hell out of Mega Man X2, X1. I'm very fuzzy on the details of X2 and 3. Like, I remember enjoying them. I remember playing and enjoying those games a great deal. I played Mega Man X3 on the PS2 when it came into the Legacy Collection. I remember people were really mad at the music in that game, and I can't really remember that controversy. I just remember going on GameFAQs and some dudes just like, they took all the music out and they put the crappy rock music in it, and I'm like, oh, it was like my first exposure. I'm struggling to remember details about both of these games. Like, I think Mega Man X2 is the one with the X Hunters, I think they were called, and like Dr. Kane or something like that. Oof. But the one I remember the most is Mega Man X1. That's the one that I actually owned, because these are Super FX games, and those actually ended up costing more than normal games. And I never owned X2 or X3 until the PS2 Anniversary Collection came, and I went back and played them. But I think those were the only times I played them, and I got some thoughts. Mega Man, has a Mega Man game not got dapped up yet? Oh yeah, 5 and 6, because I don't remember 5 and 6. I don't remember 5 and 6. All right, I was gonna say we're gonna gatekeep Mega Man at some point. Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. I played and owned this game. It's a very nothing video game, but it exists because branding in the 90s said that if you were a superstar athlete, you needed a video game. Mr. Do. Mr. Do is a game I played way later in life. I played it because, once again, second mention of Jeff Gersman, formerly of GiantBomb.com, would not stop mentioning Mr. Do, so I took it upon me when I was setting up my Mr. to play Mr. Do, and I was like, yeah, I don't get it. But I played it. And Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures. I have played Pac-Man 2. I played this, and it's a weird game. You have to like shoot him with a slingshot to get him to go in the right direction, because he's like a dumbass. And it's a very strange game, but I do remember playing it. Alright, I have played Pocky and Rocky. Pocky and Rocky is one of those Super Nintendo games that's insanely expensive. It's something like $400 last I checked. Let's go to eBay. Okay, Pocky and Rocky is currently $145, which is expensive for a game. However, at one point in its life, it was something like $300. I think a lot of the price inflation for video games went down. But I have played Pocky and Rocky because a lot of those super expensive games, like, part of me is just like, I just have to know, right? Like why is this game so expensive? Is it that good? And the answer is almost always no. It's just very like limited print run or hard to find. It's more of a collector's object than it is a game to be played. Primal Rage, that's a game I played. When me and my friends were just playing practically any shitty fighting game we can get our hands on to see who's the king of fighting games. I remember Primal Rage being a game that we played on the Super Nintendo specifically. And this game sucks. And I'm going to put it under trash I enjoy. Only because I remember, like, for some reason, if you were mashing the same button, the game would, like, a block of cheese would show up on the screen to tell you that you were cheating. Or you were playing like a little bitch. That means someone was so salty about button mashing on the development side that they put a button mashing detector in the game to shame the player because they were mashing buttons. That means that person got their ass smoked in so much Mortal Kombat growing up that they were angry enough to make an anti-button mashing mechanic in their game. That's hilarious. Get good, whoever did that, but also make a better game. I talked a little bit about my roommate who absolutely loved shmups. Gave me Gradius 5. Also recommended I played R-Type 3. And I played it. And I was like, this is just more Gradius bullshit. And he's like, no, it's completely different, the mechanics. And then he did the same thing, where he took the controller away from me to show me how good he was at R-Type 3. And I love that for him, I suppose. I own and have played Secret of Mana. But it's just a game that I never got into. I don't know what it was about it. I just never connected with Secret of Mana. It's like one of those, you can tell it's a well-made game by well-made developers with a very good track record. But it's also like games I played after Chrono Trigger, after Final Fantasy VI, and every RPG I played lives in those games' shadows and have affected my perception of RPGs moving forward. And sorry, buddy, but I never clicked with you. However, Seiken Densetsu 3, which is... I own a hack of this game. So there's some interesting stuff with Seiken Densetsu 3, aka Trials of Mana. I found a person on Etsy who was selling repo carts of the official English language version of Trials of Mana that came out in like 2018, 2019. And I own that out of respect. And I actually do want to sit down and play Seiken Densetsu 3. I should probably pull it up on the screen, the game I'm talking about. I do really want to sit down and play Seiken Densetsu 3 because it just seems rad, and there's so much history behind it, and seeing the English localization come out so much later in life, and the fact that they actually put time and care into the English language version, that it's just a working Super Nintendo ROM that you could just load it on a Super Nintendo cart and just play it, that's rad. For them to put that much detail into remaking this game that also got a full-blown remake later in life. So I've not played Trials of Mana, if you want to get dirty with its name, but Seiken Densetsu 3 is its official name. I do own a repro cart of that patch, but I have not had the will to play it, but I failed you. I bought it with the intent to play it. So I have a funny story about SimAnt. I don't know. I think this was around the time that like A Bug's Life and Ants came out. And I remember being in a Costco and I had the PC version of SimAnt. And I don't know why, but I really wanted that game. The PC version. I'm reminiscing because of the reminder from the Super Nintendo catalog I'm looking through. But I remember just crying in a Costco because I really wanted a copy of SimAnt. And my mother actually caved in and bought that game for me, and then I played it, and I was like, oh, this is hard. And I never played it again. Sorry, Mom. I don't know. I thought ants were cool. Many, many signs that I was an undiagnosed autistic child. I just really wanted the game about ants. All right, I played and enjoyed SimCity 2000. I only bought it because the Super Nintendo version specifically would have Bowser come up and destroy the city every now and then, and I thought that was cool. So, dapping up SimCity 2000. Star Fox. I own Star Fox. I played Star Fox. Star Fox is another game that I played it way after already experiencing Smash Brothers. Like, so much of Smash Brothers introducing me to new characters made me actually go out and play those games. Just be like, oh, dude, this is the game that the Star Fox dude is from. And like Star Fox is a technical achievement for what it did and on the hardware it came out. But playing that game after already owning a Nintendo 64, like, come on. And Star Fox 2 didn't come out until like relatively recently. Like the Super Nintendo Mini was the first actual release of Star Fox 2. And then I played it on the Super Nintendo Mini. And I was like, yup, this is more Star Fox. But it's very cool that it came out. Like, again, the history behind this game is fascinating. But the game itself is not so great. Street Fighter 2. So I'm putting this here for all the Street Fighter 2s out there. Like, you would be mad to not dap up Street Fighter 2. There's a lot of versions of Street Fighter 2. So I'm just going to be very general. This is Street Fighter 2 as a concept. I'm not going to be specific or just whatever version of Street Fighter 2 you're thinking in your head is the best version of Street Fighter 2. It's representing the game as a whole. Street Fighter 2 owns. That game is incredible. I'm mostly talking about the arcade version. And that's a game that I firmly believe that if you play fighting games and you enjoy fighting games and their history, you need to have some solid Street Fighter 2 game. You need to be able to hold your own. I'm not saying you need to be incredible at the game, but you gotta be able. Just if you can't throw a Hadouken, then what are we doing? I remember playing a Super Bomberman. I think it was the first one. I did not realize that there were 5 Super Bomberman games. I didn't realize that Super Bomberman was an annual release. Like, Super Bomberman was coming out like it was fucking Madden. This is insane. I'm going to put Bomberman and dap up Bomberman because I fucks with Super Nintendo version of Bomberman. But I couldn't make ass or tails out of the differences between Bomberman and Bomberman 5. Castlevania 4, which I completely forgot was Super Castlevania 4. Come on down. Come on down. Get dapped up, Castlevania 4. Some people hate this game. I know Ego Raptor made a video about how this game sucks once, and I respectfully disagree with Mr. Aaron Hansen. I don't know. This game just owns. Yes, it's a little bit easy, but you know, games shouldn't be punishing to be fun. And you can whip in 8 directions, and that's weird and takes out a lot of the strategy of the game. And I understand that what he said was objectively correct, but I still love this game. I have played Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I think it might be the same game as the Sega Genesis game. I've never actually scrutinized them side by side, so I don't know if it's just Ghouls and Ghosts and they just threw Super on it because it was on the Super Nintendo, because they did that a couple times, but I remember that game fondly. So I said I wasn't going to put compilation games in here, but like the amount that you got in this game was insane, because you got like every Mario game ever just on one cartridge, and it was just madness. You got Mario 1, you got Mario The Lost Levels, you got Mario 2, you got Mario 3, you got Super Mario World. I can't remember if there's anything else on the cart, but like just having a game release with every single Mario game on it till that time, and especially as a kid who loved Mario, and just having all those games in one place. They had save features, the remakes of like Super Mario and Super Mario 2 and 3 had like better graphics. They were like, this is how I originally played Super Mario 3. I think I mentioned that, but Mario 3, all those games are good. Not a bad game on that. I also beat the Lost Levels because I was just desperate for more Mario. And just having a cart with this much content on it, that's insane. This game's good. And I will count it as its own value meal package, because I remember that cart fondly. Speaking of cart, that was not a pun or a segue, but we got there eventually. Maybe it was on the mind. Super Mario Kart. Come on down. This game owns. This game owns. Mario Kart, the original. Like, I know everyone says, oh, your favorite Mario Kart is your first Mario Kart. I am a living example that that's not true. However, I do have a lot of fond memories for Super Mario Kart, the original. Mario RPG. So I talk a lot about Chrono Trigger, talked a lot about Final Fantasy VI. I failed to mention the third king of the RPGs in my heart. This game's incredible. But we are going to end the high with Super Metroid going to... only because I talk about this a lot, but if I play a game and I get lost and I don't know where to go, then I'm not really into like exploring. And the moment I'm backtracking, and I'm sure a lot of the reasons I don't like this game is that I'm dumb. There are Metroidvanias that I love that we will encounter later as we go up in years, but Super Metroid is just simply not one of them. I did play this game on an emulator at first, but I eventually did own a physical copy of this, but it just never connected with me, which is funny because there are other Metroid games like Fusion, even Dread, that I connected with and finished those games, but Super Metroid was just never it for me, and I'm sorry, but I don't fuck with it like that. You ain't getting a dap. And I think that might be the most controversial snub so far. Super Punch-Out! For the longest time, I hated this game. Only because it was not Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And I didn't like these new characters, and I didn't like the graphics, and I didn't like that this wasn't Little Mac, but they tried to gaslight me into believing he's Little Mac. Hated this game for a long time. And when I got into retro game collecting, I actually turned around and actually booted up and played this game. Mind you, like, Wii Punch-Out had already come out by then. And I found myself warming up to Super Punch-Out. I was like, oh, you know what? I think I was just being a weirdo. We're dapping up Super Punch-Out. We're closing the gap between dap up and There was a huge gap earlier. I believe I played Super R-Type. Yep, this was one of the games my roommate forced me to play because he loved shmups so much. I'm not going to talk about that dude anymore. If you're listening, you know who you are, and I still love you, but you were an insufferable ass for a long time. For some weird games. Games that I never heard of. However, when I bought a Super NT, they came with Turricane and Turricane 2 on them, and they had these like very definitive versions of these games that were not able to fit on a Super Nintendo cart and were living on someone's hard drive for 400 years. But then Analog actually was able to publish them. It came with like a really cool box for Super Turricane 2 that you could put on your shelf to pretend you own this game that doesn't really exist. And it's like they're both kind of meh games. But again, as in terms of historical relevancy and preservation, I appreciate the effort that Analog put into preserving these games. But like, it's like kind of like you did it. You preserved Super Turricane. Like, I think it's important for game history to be able to preserve everything, including Super Turricane and Super Turricane 2. That does not make them good games, though. I fuck with Turtles in time. This was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that I own. This is the only one that I owned, and it's the one that I played the most. It's the one that goes, my toes, my toes! And you get to throw dudes into the screen. I know there's like 3 other Turtles games. I don't think I've ever played them. I did play the Tournament Fighters because, as I mentioned, my friends loved playing any and every fighting game we can get our hands on. But this game kind of, I don't remember it fondly. I don't know why I just put it there. Is it trash I enjoy? Honestly, no. No. Terranigma. You're going in the I failed you section. So this game's interesting because it's an RPG that only released in Europe. So there was a PAL version, but there was never a North American version, and I own a ROM hack where someone hacked the PAL version to run on a North American device at the 60 hertz or whatever it was, the 59.96 or whatever you want to be technical about it. But they made a version that was compatible with North American Super Nintendos. So I own the ROM hack repro cart of this game because there's a lot of people who are just like, oh, here's these hidden gems of RPGs you've never heard of. And I bought it with the intent to play it, and I just never did. Like, I tested it. I stuck it in Super Nintendo to see if it boots, see if it's responsive, see if it could hold a save. And then I'm like, cool. Whenever I'm ready to play this, I have access to it, which is funny because I own this, but I could just throw it on my EverDrive and still play it. And I really want to play this game, but I don't really feel compelled to play Terranigma at this moment. Terranigma is a game that if it got like an HD Switch port or something like that, I'd be down. If it got the Live Alive treatment, I'd be down. Ooh, there's a banger in here. This game is fucking incredible. This game is insane. It's a Tetris battle game where you have like fighting game supers and you pick all these weird characters, and there's like a little ninja boy, and there's like an entire village of people that count as one character, and then there's this jack-o'-lantern guy. And I'm so obsessed with this game. This is a game that I found out through YouTubers, and then I like literally bought a copy of the Super Famicom version off of eBay, and this game's incredible, and I love it. And this is a game that I wouldn't be shocked if it ended up going really far once we start whittling down to 100. Pardon me one moment. Where is Tetris 2? Because Tetris 2 should be there. Because Tetris 2 is a Super Nintendo game I owned. And why is it not on this list? You should be right here. I wanted to talk about Tetris 2 because, like, when I think about games that make me go ugh, is definitely Tetris 2 elicits one of those responses, because like this game's not Tetris at all. It's such a weird game. Like look at the gameplay of it. Like this is not Tetris. This game is wild, but it had the fucking audacity to call itself Tetris 2. Like, we are the second Tetris, and our gameplay looks like this. It plays more like Dr. Mario than anything. Wait a minute. Did I rank Dr. Mario? This is why we do this exercise. There can be no game forgotten. We're gonna dap up Dr. Mario. Tetris 2. You're a fucking weird game. You're such a fucking weird game. Like, and also like it's not even like the tetrominoes. Like, the whole point of Tetris is that they're arrangements of 4 blocks where you'll get like weird long 5-6 pieces in here, and like it, like look right here, like in this picture, you get this like little like dick ship looking thing. That's not a Tetris piece. I mean, I guess it is 4 pieces, but like that's a dick. What's wrong with y'all? That's a penis. Don't do that. Okay, this is a game I have played on an emulator. I know people feel passionate about the Mystical Ninja Goemon. You're not playing as Goemon. You're playing as Kitty Yink and Dr. Yang. But this is a game that downloaded on an emulator, played it for 20 minutes, was not impressed, never thought of it again. But I did play it. We're dapping up Uniracers. I don't know why, I just think this game is neat. It's a game where you play as like a unicycle with no rider. You can just jump and do fucking sick flips, and that's the entire game. There's nothing else to it. Just try unicycles doing sick tricks. Video games used to be good. Alright, we're going to now shout out Wolfenstein 3D. I did play Wolfenstein 3D. I played it on the PC. And I played it probably way too late. Like, I played it while... Like, I played this game definitely after, like, GoldenEye came out. Like, shooters were starting to get serious, and the trajectory set forth by Wolfenstein 3D. But it was definitely, like, stack of floppy disks that I had that I can run on my computer that my uncle gave me, and it was this and Doom. Alright, I have played WrestleMania, the arcade game. I do believe I played the weird PS1 port of this. That was an arcade port of the actual game. But this game sucks. But I played it. I almost forgot Worms. I like Worms. Worms is a game that I also played on PC. This is going to sound very familiar, but once I discovered how to pirate video games on the internet, and I had a PC that could run video games-ish, circa whatever year it was, I lost my fucking mind with the games that I was stealing. Yoshi's Island. There was some discourse over Yoshi's Island, but I remember it fondly. And that last final boss theme stuck in my head. That shit slaps. Oh, the 32X. Okay. Time of embarrassment. I probably played more of these games than I want to admit that I played, but that's only because I found a lot of 32 games that was going for really cheap, and I owned a physical 32X, and I don't know why I thought it was cool. So we'll just shoot through this real quick. I guarantee you all these games suck. I remember playing Cosmic Carnage. That was one of the games that was in my... I'm just going to sit in the session. There's no good games on 32X. Cosmic Carnage is a shitty fighting game that I remember playing on the 32X. Okay, I did not own Knuckles Chaotix, but I did play it on an emulator because I'm obsessed with Sonic, but this game is mid. I played Calibri on an emulator because everyone swore that this was the best game on the 32X. They're like, oh, dude, this is made by the Echo the Dolphin team. I don't care about your stupid Hummingbird game. Okay, I played Star Wars Arcade on the 32X. I know it's a port of a better game. However, this is the only version of that game I played. It was in the stack of 32X games that I had. And, like, it's kind of okay, but it's... T-Mech was a game that I got in that weird lot of 32X games. And it was a copy of T-Mech. I played that. There was a version of Space Harrier. I've played the best version of Space Harrier, aka Space Harrier in Yakuza 0. So Virtua Fighter was probably the best game on the 32X that I played. And I've played better versions of Virtua Fighter, and I don't... Like, it's still a 32X game, and that's also the only version of Virtua Fighter 1 I played. Oh, the Sega Saturn. So... I got the Sega Saturn as a present. What I didn't know is that when I was purchased a Sega Saturn, I was bought a system that was being fire sold because the Sega Saturn came with a 3-pack, and it came with 3 games. It came with Virtua Cop, Virtua Fighter, and Daytona Racing, and I have a lot of affinity for those games. The Sega Saturn's a weird console with not a lot of games. And I really didn't have much on the Sega Saturn, and by the time I got it, it was already a dying console. So we'll go through the Sega Saturn lightning round, but I did own a Sega Saturn. I wish I still had my Sega Saturn. I remember throwing it in the garbage. Okay, I remember Bug. Because Bug was like the platformer game on the Sega Saturn. And I think this might be trash I enjoy. Because I remember playing the shit out of it. Did own Bug 2, the sequel to Bug. Bug 2 is going to go under, like a lot of my memories of Bug go for the first one. But it's one of those weird, like, specific platform games from the 90s that everybody forgot about. The mascot platforms. Okay, this is a game that my uncle bought for me. It's based off the movie. I remember playing the hell out of this game, but again, I had a fancy new console that had no games. I had to play the very few games that I had. We're going to talk about Symphony Night. It technically had a Sega Saturn port, but we decided we're just going to go with the best version of a game. Symphony Night is a game that I played significantly later in life, and I genuinely believe that it holds up. It's not, it's really good. Like, even having many Metroidvanias come out that have improved upon the genre and the user interface and a lot of the quality of life things, like Symphony of the Night holds up. It is the template those games, it's the temple those games worship at. Oh, I played the Sega Saturn version of Croc. This game sucks. However, it is trash that I enjoyed. Daytona, come on down. No, it's not delicious garbage. It's just delicious everything. Daytona USA is an incredible game. Incredible music. You could unlock a horse in this game. There was a code you could put in to have a horse in the racing game, and you can gear shift the horse. Like, games used to be good. Alright, Die Hard Trilogy. I remember this game because it's really weird. Like, there's a game based off of every single Die Hard game. And, like, the first Die Hard is, like, a third-person shooter. Die Hard 2 is, like, a light gun game. And Die Hard 3 is Crazy Taxi. And I remember this game fondly. I don't know, like, my dad bought it because he thought it was cool. And he liked games with action men in them. And I don't know. I remember not liking Die Hard 2 the most. And I remember Die Hard 1 was a hard game because you had to actually go up the towers of it. But they did something really unique to the game. And Die Hard 3 was like you driving around Crazy Taxi style, trying to defuse bombs and stuff like that. I'm sure these games have aged horribly. I remember renting Guardian Heroes. I remember renting this because I saw that it was made by Treasure and it had heroes in it, and I was like, dude, this is the sequel to Gunstar Heroes. And then I was greeted with a fucking beat 'em up. And this game makes me want to make a new category in the list of perhaps I treated you harshly. Nah, because I'm not going to go out of my way to emulate some fucking game. I just thought it was Gunstar Heroes 2. I looked at this cover and I was like, dude, it's Gunstar Heroes 2. They made another one. And this is what the American box art looked like. It was nonsense. It was not Gunstar Heroes 2. I was insanely cruel to this game. Looking at it as an adult, I haven't thought about this game in 20 years. I'm like, you know what? This kind of looks rad. And Treasure makes good games, such as Bangai-O. But I was particularly cruel to that game. Now here's where the Saturn shined, which was its incredible arcade ports. And since we're here, and we're thinking of the best version of these games, and they're definitely better than the PS1 versions of these games, which is what I mostly played, go look at my boy Shumagorath. Like, Marvel Superheroes are the games that would eventually become Marvel vs. Capcom, and almost all of those games are delightful. So we're gonna dap up. We're just gonna go dap them both up, because Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter is rad too. X-Men Children of the Atoms coming up. X-Men vs. Street Fighter is the only one of these games I don't believe I actually played. We're gonna talk about Mega Man 8. So this is the Saturn version. This is actually the version of Mega Man 8 I had. And I believe it's an expensive game now, and I scratched this game up as a child because that's how much I played it. And Mega Man 8 is a delightful video game, and it brings me warmness and happiness, and I love it. And Mega Man X4 is one of the best video games ever made. Said and done. Alright, so Metal Slug. So now we're in the arcade ports on Saturn, and that's just making me think of the best versions of these games, which is the arcade versions. Oh, Metal Slug. I've played every 2D Metal Slug, and I like them all, but I could not differentiate any Metal Slug game. I know some of them go to space, some of them have zombies, because every time I've played Metal Slug, I've always played all of them back to back to back to back. So I'm going to lump Metal Slug into a series. Just Metal Slug makes me happy inside. If there's any outliers that make me upset, that's fine. But like, unlike Contra, I can tell you the difference between every single Contra game, to my knowledge. But like Metal Slug is they just kind of lumped together. And there was just like Metal Slug 2 was just more Metal Slug. Metal Slug 3 was more Metal Slug. And I played most of them on the Wii Anthology and the PSP games. And that had like kind of like all the Metal Slugs. So whenever you just played them, you just played them with infinite quarters and back to back. And they all blend into my head together. But it's a fond memory of all the games just meshing together into one Uber game. Mr. Bones is a real game. I thought this was a shitpost. Oh my god. Mr. Bones is a real game? Mr. Bones is real? I'm sickened but curious. I literally, my only exposure through Mr. Bones is the Mr. Bones' Wild Ride meme. I didn't realize this was an actual game and piece of media that I can consume. Oh my god. Mr. Bones is real. I have to go to sleep with that knowledge tonight that Mr. Bones is a fucking real thing. I don't know if I'm gonna be alright, y'all. Oh, Nights into Dreams. I've played this game. I don't really feel fondly of it. Like, I just remember, like, oh, this is the new Sonic Team game, and this is going to be the new mascot for Sega. And this stupid clown has not stopped showing up in, like, Sonic media, and we can't escape it. And, like, I don't know. I played this game, and, like, it came with, like, I didn't know, because I borrowed it from someone. And I just never gave it back, because that's what you did as a kid. You just be like, can I borrow this? And then you just end up stealing it. But I didn't know it had its own unique controller, so I was just playing it with the standard, like, 6-button Saturn thing, and I don't know. I remember, like, you needed to, like, go through the dreams and fight the bosses, but you also had to be good at it to be able to get to the final dream, and I don't think I ever did whatever score rush thing you were supposed to. Police nuts. I failed you. Like, it's another Kojima joint, and it was never localized, but that man's brain is insane, and it's also worth picking apart. I have played Panzer Dragoon. I don't know if Panzer Dragoon's a weird one, because I don't feel fondly about Panzer Dragoon, game on the Sega Saturn. But every now and then, games like Sonic Racing and like Bayonetta will suddenly just turn into Panzer Dragoon out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, I know you, and I get excited because I just recognize legacy weird Sega thing, but I don't think I actually like Panzer Dragoon. So you're gonna go and be, remember when we almost closed this gap? Then we got to the Sega Saturn. I've played Quake. I enjoyed Quake. Quake is a game that I pirated when I first got my PC. When I first finally had the ability to pirate video games off of the personal computer. I had to play all the games that were hyped. I did not play Quake on the Saturn, but I did play Quake on the PC, and I thought it was pretty cool. Okay, this is proper Rayman. Even though I played Rayman on the PS1, I have fond memories of Rayman. It was like, again, it's like just something about the mascot platformers, and the ones that stood tall should be recognized. Oh, Sonic R. Oh, Sonic R. Before I rank Sonic R, I have a very funny recent story about Sonic R. I was driving my sister. We were headed to the gym, and while we were in the car, Can You Feel the Sunshine started playing. And my sister is like freaking out. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, where is this song from? I know this fucking song. She's like, this is like taking me back to New York. in my childhood in a way that I don't like. And I was like, kind of like, you don't know where this is from. And she's like, no, you need to tell me right now. She's like getting physically aggravated with me. And I'm like, it is a song from a Sega Saturn game with Sonic Racing in it. And she's like, oh my god, it's all coming back to me. My sister, not a gamer, has not thought about Sonic R in 20 years. And I just like bottled up all her emotions and anger of hearing the weird soundtrack. Because, fun fact about Sonic R, you were able to put the Sega Saturn CD in a disc player and just listen to the soundtrack. So when I was a kid, I would play the shit out of this game. And my mom had this like really nice speaker set up, and I would stick the Sega Saturn game in the speaker and just play the soundtrack for Sonic R while we were cleaning, and everybody would be like, Aaron, take this shit off. And I was like, but I like the music. And then my mom told me that she never saw the signs of my undiagnosed autism as a child. And then I tell stories like this. Sonic R. Some garbage is okay. And you're alright. Your gameplay sucks, but your music is banging. Anything that can make my sister feel some sort of weird visceral emotion that she can't comprehend or understand through your weird jazz, I'm here for it. Thank you, Sonic R. Alright, I didn't play Sonic the Fighters until it came on the like GameCube Sonic collection, and I remember you had to unlock it, and like this game just sucks. It's not even fun to play. Space Jam. I played the shit out of this game as a kid. Mostly because I liked NBA Jam. It's going to be under Trash I Enjoy. I remember like the Toon Squad is like super OP. Like when you go to their stats in the game, they all have like 4 stars, and all the Monstars have like 1, 2 tops. And this game sucks, but this is one of the few games on Sega Saturn that I did own. There's like a weird like part where you have to like go in a locker and do like the thing where you like put juice in Michael Jordan's cup, and it's fucking weird, but I played this game a lot. House of the Dead. This is a game I definitely played at like a movie theater, and not on the Sega Saturn, but I remember it fondly. You know, I have no beef with House of the Dead. Typing of the Dead. That's a game that fucks. I don't know if it'll make the top 100, but I feel strongly about Typing of the Dead, which is just a port of the arcade game that they turned into a typing game. And that's kind of gangster. Alright, KOF. We're officially in KOF season. And I definitely played King of Fighters 95. And I think that might be the first time I fell in love with the King of Fighters game. Alright, that's KOF 98. Alright, we're going to give it to KOF 98. Because that's the one I remember playing. I had that on like the Xbox 360 Live. And just that song was catchy, and I played a lot of that game. And King of Fighters is hard. Lightning round for the Virtua games. Definitely played Virtual Cop. Actually, was it Virtual Cop or Virtual Cop 2? What game came packed in with the Saturn? I think it was Virtual Cop 1. But I need to be fairly certain, because that's the only Virtual Cop game I played. I think there's maybe like 4 was an arcade game? I don't know. Here it is. Here's the triple pack that I remember. Just came for free. They would just hand this to you for buying a Sega Saturn. So when I got a Sega Saturn, they just handed me this brick with all these games. And they're all going on the fondly remember game, because they all rock. And honestly, I just had to remind myself which iteration of Virtual Cop it was that I played. This is the only Virtual Cop game I played that like wasn't a light gun game at an arcade. This is just a little piece of history right here. This is how bad the Saturn was doing, that they were just giving up. They were giving away 3 games for free just for buying these games, and then just giving you a $15 coupon to buy another Sega Saturn game. That is the condition and fire sale status that I got my Sega Saturn in. I did play Virtua Fighter Kids. I remember being very, like, I loved Virtua Fighter 2, and then this was like, oh, it's Virtua Fighter, but it's like for kids. And I remember it fondly. It will likely get cut. It will probably be one of the first things to get cut. I don't remember it strongly, but I just like the art style. And like, I don't know, there's this weird trend of like, here's your game, but we made it with kids instead. Like weird chibi versions of your favorite characters. Why does Kage look like a dog? I'm asking too many questions. Also, I called this dude Cage for my entire life until like maybe 5-6 years ago, where someone's like, "Oh yeah, Kage," and I was like, "Oh, he's a ninja." Oh my bad, dude. He never corrected me. But like this, like Twisted Metal, Small Brawl, like Pocket Fighter, like I don't know, just cutesy versions of games that you love and enjoyed. Like that shit was, I was the right age to play those kind of games. X-Men, Children of the Atom. That is a game I play. Look at the Marrow, my beloved. Or excuse me, Spyro. Marrow didn't show up to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Spyro's hilarious. I love her in the comics because she's such a hater. And Destiny hates her guts. And I think that's hilarious. And the Brotherhood and their in-beefing. This game ruled. God, just the sprites are just so timeless. You can just look at the sprite work in this game and it's just transcends time. The hell is 6-inch, my darling? This is the second time I saw this. That's some weird dating game. I bet it's real great. But that concludes the Sega Saturn. I do believe I know what's next. Actually, no, not really. So, starting from the Saturn... Never mind, it's the PlayStation. I have been doing this session for hours, so I will probably change clothes in the next shot while we tackle remembering every video game ever. The PlayStation 1. This is going to be dense.